Welcome back from the break, everybody, as our coverage of the Overwatch D9 Nationals now Carthage and Puma effectively in like a 9-game series to finally get our champion. Carthage did walk away with the Game 7 win. Now it's going to be Baker B taking on ECU in what should be another action-packed, very fun grand final. We got a bit of everything in the previous series. Now we get to see exactly what D9's got in store. And again, Baker, they've been the 1 seed basically the entire year. ECU coming in as the 3 seed, but as we just saw, that didn't mean anything.
Yeah, what's going to make things interesting because this is Division 9 also, so we can get all types of shenanigans when you get into these lower divisions where some teams just play some crazy, interesting stuff that they've specialized in, and that's what's gotten them here. So that's what makes this division magic and that much more interesting. As you can see, both the rosters on screen for both of these teams, and here in the next hour and a half to 2 hours, we're going to be crowning the Division 9 national champion.
Yeah, 2 more teams. It is one final series, one battleground, one last hurrah before you do close out your season entirely. Obviously, we had a fantastic back and forth, just everything you want in this series of Overwatch. We got it in the first window. I'm expecting to see some fireworks coming up in this series. You mentioned it, just the unorthodox picks, the fiesta style of gameplay that we get sometimes. It is more fun than just watching Metaslave comp sometimes because teams are just playing the game naturally. They're not overthinking anything. They said, we like XYZ, we're going to play XYZ, and that's the best way to go about it sometimes, as we do see a few bans come through. Ilios map 1 again, which is very nice. Juno banned away from Baker, and ECU picking off the Pharah.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see Ilios so often. I mean, we don't get to see it that often as the first map in a lot of these series, and for both series twice in a row. Pharah, no surprises here. I mean, Pharah, a lot of high ground control to be able to work with. This is a very wide open map, so no shockers here. The Judo one's more interesting. Generally speaking, Judo, not one you expect right off the gate. Juno's normally one of those ancillary characters you'll pick when someone else is banned. So to come out right out the gate and ban that is very interesting coming out from B.
And because it's Ilios, I'm expecting us to just see 2 Lucios more than likely. So I guess the Judo ban probably was a little bit overshadowed, or maybe a little less effective there, although maybe ECU, not that Ana's ever really a bad pick. It's of course going to work fine, and I sincerely hope we get a Roadhog to start us off map 1. That would be awesome.
You never know when it comes to these Division 9, but Baker B is playing more of what we expect in this meta, which is a diva composition with the Kiri Lucio, and they're going to go double flex as it sits with the Onron Tracer. Not a huge fan of the Onron, especially by itself, but let's see how that works out. We are going to get the Roadhog coming out from ECU. Gotta love to see these adaptations.
Yeah, right. If there ever was a time, well, on Ilios is, probably 1A or 1B for points in the Overwatch where the Hog can find supreme value and look for these cross-map hooks to try to pull in the Diva. So, entertainment value on 100, and it looks like Ishmaelian instantly able to take down Kote. Paint, luckily able to find one back for the side of Baker and ECU respectively. Now it's going to be the Soldier getting chunked down very low. Amethyzer looking to see if they can scoop up any backline damage as well. The Roadhog is very exposed. A big nade from the Ana will keep them alive, and ECU using that extra pressure from the Roadhog to find a kill, but it is going to be Baker with the capture.
Yeah, the Ana Kiri for the ECU Tigers makes a lot of sense in this composition. How the nades to just allow more potential for these, because they're playing a very what's the word?
No.
Everyone's kind of like off on their own doing things and just trying to get a lot of value, just individualistic composition. So being able to have those nades to get the antes to allow those plays to happen more often. So you have the Suzu to get anyone out of any kind of danger. I think, considering the type of style they're playing, I think they have the right setup for it.
And listen, the Roadhog, sometimes it looks a little useless, but the second you get that one hook that wins you a team fight, especially in a game like Control where 2 to 3 fights can be the entire percentage, definitely can find some high value, especially in a map like Ilios. And I know one of the Baker players was having internet issues maybe 4 minutes ago in real time. So I'm hoping that that's not a persistent issue or something that's going to affect the series. I mean, right, we never want to get delayed on broadcast. I'd rather the player have a workable setup to actually play their grand final in and make sure that they're going to be all good on that front. I say we only really saw half of a fight. ECU found a couple of early kills. Baker answered back in a nice way, and Yeah, I mean, just always sucks to get a cheeky little tech pause. And literally, we had one last series too. It was like ready to go, jump into a big game, and pause.
Yeah, so I mean, it's gonna be on the bees to be able to make some adjustments. Obviously, Orisa is pretty dang good into the hog. And even Orisa can also shoot some of those hit scans from afar and punish some off angles. I wonder if they're gonna swap up any of the DPS. I'm not exactly sure about like how the. I mean, Tracer, you're already going into a cast, so that's not gonna be super ideal. And I mean, Tracer's mostly just gonna farm pulse off the Roadhog and hopefully make plays with it. If they're going to continue to play that way.
Yeah, you shoot the Roadhog and then go find the Ana to throw the pulse bomb, and usually a decent, easy way to live. And yeah, Kote apparently DC'd. Yeah, they were the one having issues earlier, so bit unfortunate. So hopefully we'll get it back in a minute or two. If not, I'm sure we'll go to a break sooner than later, assuming that it's one of those things where I unplugged it and plugged it back in. I connection tested, and Blizzard's still deciding that I have 95 to 100 ping for whatever reason. And you just hope that just the adrenaline of you finally rush into map one as a player, then it's kind of like that. It's a weird process of, okay, we know what they're playing now, but now we just have to sit and kind of almost overthink the game since we can't actually sit there and play it.
Yeah, so it makes things a little bit tricky. Obviously with the DC, don't know what kind of ult charge they were sitting at. So, obviously they're going to start fresh with some new ult charge. I mean, we weren't too far into the match anyway, but any little bit's definitely going to hurt. So they'll be a little bit lagging behind when it comes to the first round of ultimates. So that's just that much more better for the ECU Tigers. And again, especially when you're playing this, everyone kind of taking their own angles and poking kind of thing. Now that they're able to set up defensively, it makes the composition that much more potent.
Yeah, and before we do go to a break, because we're still, wait, listen, 10 minutes before the game started, after we were behind, we said someone's having issues. We're going to delay. The timer kept going up. We're going to give a quick thank you, of course, to the fine folks helping put on nationals. It is the Army National Guard. The Forge Trials are presented by the Army National Guard. Answer the call of the uncommon at nationalguard.com. And since Kote and crew are having a little bit of issue getting back into the Blizzard servers, we're going to cut it to a quick break, hopefully a very quick one, because we've got a best of 7 to play, and we've barely just scratched the surface, so we'll catch y'all back in a few. Well, Division 9 Grand Finals, take 2, hopefully. Hopefully everybody's all back and good. Prayers, thoughts and prayers for Kote's internet or whatever the issue seems, whether it's a Blizzard side issue or just a ping issue in general. We want a clean fought game. We need a clean series. Unfortunately, as you said, Kote, of course, sent back to the spawn, loses the ult charge. They got killed as well, which means ECU gets essentially a free point.
So again, it's going to be pretty, pretty. As Amethyst are also going to get taken down. Strides, they didn't just look to get out of there once they knew that fight was over. They're going to swap over to the Mei now as well. So I mean, I'm not sure how I feel about that, but. I'll give it some chance to see how this goes, but this Roadhog composition it'll be tough to break through.
Yeah, at least I see an Emery on my screen, which gives me a little bit of hope just because the pick is so disgusting in the current state of the game. So Paint, get the Override Protocol online. You can absolutely destroy everybody on the low ground as Mike. Very low in the Diva, luckily able to keep on the mech suit. Anti will connect onto Kote and Amethyzer. Getting taken down low, but it's actually Baker. They just answer back with 2 random solo kills. Mike and Paint, the ones getting active at ECU, find it out the hard way. They're still in control of the point for another second. It'll be 47-20, and Baker will flip.
As Mike still doesn't have that mech, so you're going to have to be worried about that. You might have an opportunity to look to re-engage pretty quickly if you're the Tigers. Also, this composition that they're playing, they have to play patient and look for someone to be in a bad position. You get hooked, or you get flashed, and you find a pick. Because this composition isn't built on being able to push in so easily on its own.
Yeah, Roadhog Soldier Cassidy, you're saying who is griefing on the other team? We will try to execute them as fast as we can, and we'll take these targets down one by one. That's exactly how they want to play, as the hook will go a little bit wide. So MST will have to back up, get the healing in line as well, as the Lucio looking to skirt around and keep that Diva nice and healthy. 4 ultis online for the Tigers, nothing sent in yet, and with Ishmael taken down immediately, Override Protocol getting forced out of Paint to make sure that Baker can just send ECU as far back as humanly possible. Looks like job is accomplished. One last shot to Brawl Slayer to shut down the Soldier, and Baker in control.
And only having to commit one ultimate is big time there. Mike able to follow things up with the boosters and just clean up duty for the side of Baker. And they still got 4 ultimates coming online shortly to combat the 4 ultimates. Even the Roadhog ultimate was used there and ultimately got nothing. So now it's going to be a completely even fight for both of these teams as Missed Gold now going to go over to the Zarya.
Yeah, if you didn't tell me, I would have literally been asking, when did Roadhog click the ult key? I didn't hear a voice line. I didn't even see how long it was up or how much impact it got. Obviously not a ton. We're going to nano the soldier. We've got 3 ulties because we've got to get in there and make something happen. 1 for 1 to open things up. Amethyzer, now it's going to be Mistgold also trading back. The Visor still ripping away at the D.Va. Mike will be DMEC. The Blizzard does end up getting sent in, but ECU looks like this is going to be their fight to win as long as they can shut down this very pesky Emery, which should be the case, but luckily Mistgold will find the trade after the soldier falls, and ECU hanging on.
Expensive fight for the Tigers, but they were able to hold on to their high noon, so they're going to have that tool for the next fight is the Baker Bees. They'll have their beat, they'll have their remech. In the middle of this fight, likely Paint will build an override protocol. So they're both teams looking to get quite aggressive, even aggressive beat here, because you don't have to use beat for high noon.
And that's exactly what they were thinking. The Deadeye gets activated as well, and a big sleep onto Mike. The Deadeye just about to be sent in finally, and they are going to shut down the Lucio. Sound barrier no longer in the field, but Mike finds a quick pick onto the Cassidy and is able to remech in the nick of time, and Baker flips the point in the meantime. So ECU, I hope they realize they got to get back on the point and touch. They'll make it back just in time to beat OT. The sleep's not going to connect, and now that Brawl's been taken out, if Mike's able to survive a little bit longer, ECU is blinking across those health bars. They should be getting taken out. And it looks like Baker will grab round 1.
Yeah, both teams really had some really good moments on that map. The Bees, once they got settled, no more tech issues, no more internet issues, they really started to roll on the more, meta composition that we expect with the D.Va comp. Bringing out the Mei ended up working out really well for them. Their walls helped a lot in being able to wall off damage from a lot of these double hit scans. So I was, very not so sure about that D.Va's the Mei swap, but ended up working out pretty well for them.
Yeah, good to see a nice early swap pay off instead of map 1. You're running the wheel basically of we're trying to figure out what works on the fly instead of having an idea coming in. Definitely a very solid round out of Baker. We saw ECU, of course, they did win an early fight before the DC, which granted wasn't much of a fight. And then, of course, they got a little lucky after Cote DC. But after that, Baker, they dialed in, they locked everybody up. And now we're going to see if they can close out control 2-0 fashion or if it's going to be ECU pushing us the theme of the night, which has been maximum distance and maximum gameplay.
Brawl Slayer just trying to take control of this high ground as the D.Va for Mike is trying to not let that happen as MST Gold just got to get eviscerated on point.
I don't even think there was a red player in the area code or in the state. There, I literally thought the Zarya was looking around for the teammates and there was nothing there. So MST Gold, either a miscommunication or too much dip on their chip. The health pack is not there for Brawl Slayer. So you get a nice little chilly exit there, courtesy of Amethyzer and Baker. They've got full control of the site. They've controlled the high ground for most of it. And ECU, they're the ones on the back foot that have to find an answer.
Yeah, the double hit scan, I mean, I don't think it's super viable. It's if you're going to play double hit scan, it's got to be on like an escort with long sight lines. I'm not sure how I feel about it on a map like Ilios, where flex DPS can actually go pretty insane, whether it's like an Echo, a Tracer, Genji even. So I'm a little surprised to not see them play it at all.
Or even maybe, like, not that it's optimal, but even something like a Sojourn where you can at least get out of trouble, even though it's not the greatest mobility against something like a D.Va. Of course, she can just fly around and boop you anyways, but it's just something that, might be considered, quote-unquote, a little more meta and just gives you a little more versatility, I feel like. Of course, the Blizzard Ultimate and the attack visor can be very, very game-changing, but when your team is just getting staggered out one by one, I don't know if that's going to be the best way to find success. Is Paint able to catch the headshot onto the soldier? Gold is looking very, very low, same with Apollo. And this D.Va is just playing bully ball with Baker.
And again, no ultimates had to be used for Baker's Bees to be able to keep hold of that. And that's the thing. They're basically saying, you know what, MST Gold first fight, we blew you up and, your team didn't protect you. This time we're going to let you take point. We're going to out survive you while we kill a team who aren't helping you and they're just, spread out. So we're going to take them out one by one.
And now it's 90-0. They have all the ults like you were talking about, especially something like a sound barrier. I guess ECU, they have everything as well. If they can set up a combo, there's very much a chance to win the round. Or I say win the round, win a fight and try to make this round somewhat contestable. Override Protocol Blizzard, both of the Embry's going sky high. They get traded out by Attack Visor. But then Freight shutting down the tank. That means this gets... Oh, there you go, Brawl Slayer. That's the Lucio on Ilios that we've come to know and love this past decade. As Apollo falls next to him, Kote, fresh off of a couple DCs, finds a few kills. And Baker, all things considered, dominant map 1.
Yeah, that second sub map just was not close. So to be fair, that's that's the best map for like the D.Va. So it's no surprise that it was able to make it work. Doesn't matter how good Zarya can play into D.Va on certain maps. You just can go back and forth on the high ground so easily and avoid the Zarya. Doesn't really matter.
And Zarya plays fine into D.Va. We saw in the second point, Zarya does not play good into 5 different heroes that are all trained on the tank's location. We saw that was really the only chance of taking the point that they had in that second round. Gold goes in, probably goes waiting for my teammates to pull up. Nobody even close. Baker's like, all right, well, free kill on the tank, and now we can just push him back toward the spawn. You mentioned it. Lucio D.Va just dominate this map. You can see the D.Va just... Right, you're playing Soldier into D.Va, and the D.Va can just kind of steer around and literally do whatever she wants. Right, you could theoretically laser her down with those hit scans, but are you really going to one-shot the D.Va before she closes that distance? Probably not going to happen, especially when the rest of the team was just firing like they were. And Baker certainly looked really good in this map 1, and certainly got to see some adjustments moving forward.
As again, we're gonna have to see what those adjustments are gonna be, but the Tigers will be able to pick the map. They didn't get to pick the first map; they'll get the first ban. So at least they're good at the divas. So maybe you steer them away from maps that aren't so good. With that diva, we saw your propensity to want to play the Zarya. Maybe you take it to more of a brawl centric style map and try and force the Zarya. But I think those are just general things you can think about when you have the map pick on the ban available, or take it to a map you feel comfortable and just ban the D.Va.
Wouldn't hate that either. I mean, the D.Va was clearly, and especially just the state that D.Va's in. If you see a player dominate your team on a D.Va map 1, at least give yourself, just take that out of the game. And right, 3 more problems might pop up. That's the nature of the hero shooter with all this flexibility. But at least you know that the D.Va just completely ran the game that time. There was... Right, the 2 hit scans, in theory, it sounds good. No, she's up in the air. We can fire away on her. It's like, well, there's 4 other players in the game. If you 2 could just look at D.Va, yes, that sounds incredible, but there's so much other stuff going on in the game at the same time. Obviously, right, said maybe the Sojourn to at least have 1 escape from the D.Va, but they locked into their choices. And we said that, right, with something like Division 9, sometimes it's not what's best, is what am I good at? What do I feel good at? What am I comfortable with? And sometimes it's for worse instead of better, but at least, like you said, they get map, they get band select, and it is only map 1 of a best of 7. Lots of time to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the last series, just they traded maps every single time, so you never know, especially, how teams bounce back, what adjustments you can be made after you saw how that first map went. So I'm not too worried yet. We start getting 2-0, 3-0. That's where you start to be like, oh, okay, something's wrong here, and they don't have an answer for it.
And we are actually getting a few switches in. We're going to have MST Gold stepping out. Brawl is going to be in for the tank. Zach's going to step in on the DPS. So a couple adjustments there out of ECU. And we've always said it every single week. We've cast them of the mindset, do this in game 1, because then if it doesn't work, at least you found out at 2-0 that you're in big trouble instead of 3-0 when it's like, well, now we just might as well give them the trophy.
Yeah. Couldn't agree with you more. I mean, we saw Carthage swap things around a lot, and they knew when to do it, and it worked out well for them. So I'm just gonna see how this goes for ECU, and especially since it's early on, all 4 trying to throw something else at the side of the bees.
I will say, with how good and coordinated Baker did look, and right, they are the 1 seed. And Baker, I know as a program, I've gotten to cover their Valorant team and some of their other teams the last few months. Like, as a program, they've been like, they went from not a very well-known program to having like a top 20 Val team. They've obviously had a couple very good Overwatch teams. They've been good in League of Legends at times. So it's a program as a whole that is kind of bolstering expectations year over year. They're expecting to be in some of these big games. Obviously a massive map 1. And for ECU, I will say, with how good and clean Baker looked, if they don't come out with a hot start to this map too, my faith in them will more than likely rapidly wane.
There's definitely, that is definitely on the table as we are still waiting for that map pick coming in from the ECU Tigers. And then we will be getting you guys the bands very shortly. But yeah, that was just overall a really good first map coming out for Baker Bees. I mean, they proved why they're the number one seed.
I mean, yeah, even looking at the playoffs, I think I have the bracket open actually, since we have 30 seconds anyways. Yeah, they 3-1 their way up to the semis. They actually SVU Knights took them to 5 maps in the semifinals. So they actually, at least, it's not one of those one seeds where you just ice skate through the entire season, you ice skate through the bracket, you were never in danger, you never bled once. They've had to go through the ringer the last couple of weeks, which is always good to see from the 1 seed. Even the 16 seed King's College takes a map off them as well. So it's a team that at least has been tested, where Carthage, I think, even part of that 7-game series was, we haven't even been to the last map of a best of 5, and now we're pushed all the way to a game 7 where all bets are off. So for Baker, it's just been very, very impressive. They did lose the 2 of the controls in their playoff run as well. So I don't know what's with these 1 seeds and losing controls too.
As you can see on the bottom of the screen, we have the next map coming in from ECU Tiger Knight. It is going to be Esperanza going straight to push.
Yeah, and with the subs coming in from the side of ECU, I'm sure they're going to have some, at least, idea of a compositional shakeup. We, of course, saw a few things here and there that effectively were all just neutralized by the Diva. And I think we saw Baker banning away the Juno from ECU. So maybe this is something where they have a pocket Juno that is just excellent at the game, where they can finally bust it out. And for Baker, I mean, with how good they looked on all the picks, just pick any of the hit scan, you're probably going to have a good time. Obviously, there's the Vendetta, there's the Genji, there's a lot that opens up with Esperanza.
Yeah, so I think these bans again are going to be important. Diva's good on Esperanza. I would definitely be considering that Diva ban. For Baker, yeah, probably I would just target a DPS possibly. Maybe just take out the Emery. You didn't really. I mean, you played a little bit. I mean, you played the Emery yourself. Maybe you go after. You're playing Soldier Cass, right? So Soldier Emery, stuff like that. I guess maybe you could look to ban the Soldier here, but I think DPS is probably your best choice here, given they're likely to ban Diva. So you have to go a different direction instead of like tank.
Yeah, and if I was Baker, I would just keep the Emery and say, we smashed the mirror match. Why would we put ourselves at a disadvantage to take it away from you? Of course, no one wants to play into the character, but they have to play it into you as well. So I would rather them just keep the like S tier meta picks online, because I just think, as the 1 seed, looking at the track record, they can probably play those comps a little bit better. Of course, nothing is guaranteed, and there's 70 different heroes in the game, so there's a whole area of flexibility. And yeah, so okay, so there was, yeah, I just saw the chat that someone had some issues. Luckily, everybody is back, and there's potential for a game deletion or something. But for ECU, I mean, we've had enough shenanigans. I know ECU, they've had plenty of time to talk over the bans now. So now, with each passing minute, I really, really hope we see something good. Otherwise, what did you do with the time?
Yeah, especially just needing to finally get some momentum going in this best of 7 series. Tying this up 1-1 heading into break is going to be extremely important. Not the end of the world, but definitely 1-1's definitely way better than 2-0. So got to get this band correct.
Yeah, I'm going to look at what ECU's run has been to the finals as well, because I think they're being the 3 seed. They definitely, they beat the 2 seed 3-1, and they had a couple 3-0s to start off the tournament. So they're a team too that's, at least from the playoff nationals point of view, they haven't really been down in this series. They've been playing very, very well as well. I'm looking at the Mount Union series, seeing they took the control on Lijiang. They ended up losing Push Colosio to Mount Union in the last series. So Push may be a small pain point. Of course, that's basically just a 1-game sample size because they ran through the rest of the bracket. But a team like Baker, I'm sure they're going to be more than well equipped, as I guess we are still waiting for the bans. I don't know what is going on with these players' machines right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. As we do finally have the bans in, Emery getting banned from the side of ECU and Domina getting banned from the Baker Beast, which, interesting, this is definitely not a map I think of when I think of Domina, so little surprised to see that ban coming in.
Yeah, just not something, and even after the nerfs, like not something that too many teams, even at the top level, like you're not picking at every map or anything. It definitely has its uses and its case uses, but I mean, we did see the Juno ban on Ilios and kind of went, what are they thinking? Lucio's in the game. Obviously, it looked fine, but everything else also looked fine in map 1. Definitely interesting bans for ECU. I mentioned Baker. Don't take away the S tier picks. I mean the opposite for ECU. Take away all the best stuff, because from what we saw out of map 1, you do not want a mirror match against Baker, at least from what we've seen so far. That does mean that maybe we do see something like the Soldier again. Maybe we just see the tried and true classic Sojourn. The Cassidy is obviously going to be open as well, which could neutralize some of these other DPS, depending if Baker just shotgun comps 5 out-of-pocket heroes. And yeah, I think we're still, I'll ask, maybe we go to like a 1-minute break just to see, because I'm seeing the chat. I'm just seeing not ours on cooldown from all different players the last 5 minutes. Well, not going to try to get too excited yet, because we're still not gameplay on the screen, but hopefully things have been resolved. All the players are going to be all good. We barely got to scratch the surface of our second best of 7, with Baker dominating the control, essentially like 200 to 40, maybe, after all the percentage gets racked up. And I believe we're going to Esperance next, if my memory serves me correct, with Baker, of course, having all the advantage after the map 1 win. ECU banning away the Embry, trying to take out some of that power, and that is where we currently stand. Gameplay on my screen. Praise the heavens.
Because again, the Domina, very interesting ban, not really expected on a map like this. So very curious to see what the thought process was with the Baker Bees. It could have something to do with the composition they want to play, and they just think Domina kind of disrupts it a little bit. Not sure, but we're about to find out as we see once again the Diva composition. The Pharah ban makes a lot more sense on that map 1, seeing Baker playing Baker Bees playing the Pharah, so ECU banning that out map 1 makes more sense now.
Another Mercy spotting in the wild as well, with Kote and Freight lines mate with the Ana there. We got the Pharah May for the DPS. ECU, certainly a shakeup from what they did just run. They're going to pick up the Ashe this time. I mentioned possibly the Cassidy or the Vendetta. The Ashe, also very good long-range sniper as well. And we're going to get a Cat Kiri backline, as we're going to take Brawl Slayer for a little stroll up the street, give the Sigma a nice little speed boost, and see if ECU can at least try to take a defensive position on the robot, as we are 10 seconds to the unlock.
Yeah, the Sigma, I think, has an okay matchup into the Diva. If you get a good rock onto her, you can, get a lot of pressure onto her and force out her defense matrix relatively early, because she'll take so much damage from the rock and the follow-up damage that she instantly just has to DM herself out, and then it's all gone.
Yeah, the name of the game is going to be tracking this Pharah as well, and that's the thing with the Ashe. After you use the coach gun, you are effectively a pylon with the rifle, able to get caught out nice and early, and yep, the Pharah doesn't have to carry the fight, but if they go unchecked, they will happily dispense damage from above. The only one left in the fight is Brawl. I think the Cat just caught a stray. I don't think Pate was even going for Apollo, but try to protect the President on Brawl Slayer. You get taken out, and Baker off and running.
Ooh-wee, what an opening sequence there from the side of Baker. Again, this pharmacy is going to be very tough to take down. That's what you're looking for, Ishmaelian. Able to get that down. Is there a res available? No, because I think it was on top of the little train car there, so you can't just res out in the open like that.
How could I have forgotten it? Haven't seen a pharmacy in a game in so long. I forgot it existed for a second, Peyton Kode, but obviously it's been a tried and true duo for a long time. It's, the first version of the Cat Bastion, if you really want to go back that far technically, so we'll see if Baker can get something cooked up with it. So far been so good, as ECU got a few kills, but weren't able to garner any progress off the back of it, as Apollo doing their job to heal everybody up from up top, and Kote, the Mercy, they're the first ones to get caught out this time, so ECU, they're going to have a decent advantage, but instantly taken away by Paint. The Pharah is literally on a pixel of health. They will eventually fall, luckily. We do see Ishmaelian falling in the meantime, and yeah, Mike and Zach looking to trade blows as well. The Cat is just trying to pepper away the Mei as much as they can. They're going to be able to finally get the kill onto the Mei, and ECU, they can start moving.
Yeah, Apollo on this Cat's actually getting a lot of value, being able to go on these side flanks and throw in a lot of damage, and then also, be able to quickly throw in heals to their team. Baker B's coming back with a significant amount of ultimates. I mean, both these teams are going to have a ton, so this is going to be a big ult fest for this next fight.
Yeah, they do wall off the Diva, and a nice rock connects, but they end up on top of the wall, and then they get frozen up. Mike is going to pop the Diva bomb and be forced to try to remech. Unfortunately, Brawl Slayer meets every single ounce of steel there. The bomb will find the kill. Bob gets summoned up as well, and now they immediately punish the Ashe. That was a great set of kills from Baker. Mike gets nanoed up in the meantime. We send the D.Va to throttle everybody. Apollo, the only one that's potentially close to getting a teammate there. Mike will find them too, and yep, the cat will eventually get quashed there, and Baker, they are hard chilling after that fight.
And with those late staggers, that's going to allow them to get this first checkpoint, which is huge in these push maps. DPS ultimates available for Baker. The Blizzard's going to be huge. I mean, you're playing a Sigma who's slow, has no movement. You know, maybe you can get a nice cat tether and get him out in time, but it's going to be tough to pull off.
Hey, honestly, considering just looking at the mobility of ECU, or lack thereof, I should say, this Blizzard can pretty well get whoever it wants as long as they get the right timing, and there's a little bit of setup with some of the teammates, so I definitely see Amethyzer and Baker just setting up a disgusting layer of CC later on if they so need it. ECU, a couple ultis online, ready to go, trying to slow the Baker push, but they're already off basically past 75 meters with 6 minutes left on the clock.
They're seeing a lot of pressure being put onto this high ground from the Pharmacy and the D.Va, but they're forced to back out in the end, and Amethizer's going to go down, gets a Blizzard out, but they're not going to find anyone.
They did get res, but now it's a rocket barrage instantly diffed by the Ashe. The one good thing for Paint is that I think you did enough damage there to back off the rest of ECU. It looks like that is the case. It's a very sleepy D.Va. And now we've got Lion walled off by the opposing Mei and Amethyzer. Baker, they are continuously on the march. Should be well over 100 meters here now that ECU is on reset. They've got a few ultis in the back pocket, but Baker, D.Va Bomb, Nano, all they've got to play with the Mercy ulti, but they've got a big lead to play with.
As the Nano Flux comes in, finds Freight, and it's going to basically clean everyone up. Brawl Slayer getting on the tank and absolutely going to town.
Yeah, when you Nano Flux, you're expecting to win the fight. Luckily for them, they get a nice clean team kill, and I guess good thing for Baker, you all died at the same time, so you get to rejoin as a family with them not really having an ult advantage considering they only had to use 2 of them there, so Baker's still building up those DPS ultimates. Paint now just swapping over to the Ashe as well, going a little bit of mirror mode, which, given that I literally said Baker earlier, I think that if they just play a mirror mode and they're confident, they'll probably have a lot of success. Now they get to test my theory.
Here we go, lots of ultimates for these Tigers, both their DPS ultimates. Is the Nano and the Valk gonna come online? Big anti onto both these, the Cat and the Sigma.
Oh, but Mike's not able to shut down Apollo, and eventually the last swipe will shut him down, and that's the second time that Lion able to send in Bob, but immediately taken out in the same frame. Mike is gonna have to get the D.Va Bomb forced out. Bob will meet the bomb, and Baker just now reclaiming control of the robot, but honestly, very good staggers coming through late here.
Yeah, Paint going over to the Ashe off that Thera. Just felt like the Thera kind of had gotten all the value it could have. So now you're going to have a Mercy pocketing Paint, gives you an advantage in that battle with Ishmaelian. So I think Baker, they've been playing well, and then they're making really good in-game adjustments as well.
That's the sign of a 1 seed, and a good team and a good program is on-the-fly adjustments and just reading and reacting to the situation. You called it with Paint. The Pharah, it definitely got a lot of value, but it probably did run its course, so we make a nice little swap onto the Ashe to get the 6-man, the bomb. Possibly getting sent in. I thought Mike was a little higher on ult there, but HP very low, and Paint is getting caught out. Able to escape back to the help and support of the Mercy as the Nano is online for Marinette, but it's going to be Amethyzer. I don't know what it is with popping Blizzards and dying, but that's like the 3rd time Mame has Blizzarded and immediately fallen. The good thing for Baker, the rest of the team more than picked up the slack. The Mei is back in the field, and ECU is getting pushed back hard.
Yeah, rounding the final corner are the Baker Bees, but the ECU Tiger Knight gonna have 4 ultimates online, almost 5, but they get the Ashe, they get the Ana. Man, the amount of pressure Mike's been applying on this D.Va.
Yeah, Desperation Flux not gonna find anything. Bob shuts down Apollo. Now it's a late Blizzard out of Zac attack, and realistically what might be the last gasp for ECU if they can't find another kill or 2, and they've got a Nano D.Va barreling in the spawn door, kicking in the front door, putting the feet up on the couch, making a sandwich. They are relaxing in this ECU spawn right now. I'm amazed that they haven't actually been able to push the robot anymore, but the contest is remaining true from ECU, but Mike, it's right back to the well. Push down that spawn door, pop the defense matrix, ante up some of the back line. Will get demec'd eventually, but the bomb is ready. Marinette will fall, and ECU, again, I don't know how they're still holding on, but they are.
Yeah, Kote's going to go down, and the diva of it. Say that, but Apollo's down. But they have the numbers. They should be able to win here with Freight still alive somehow. Man, how are they still going to get Brawl Slayer?
I have no idea. There's 3 players that were antied in under 50 HP, and not one of them ended up falling. For Baker, it is world-class play. And with 1:50 on the clock and the time obviously favoring Baker, even if they lose a fight here, it's probably going to not be the end of the world for him as a couple of trades go back and forth. And yeah, I'm thinking, honestly, ECU, I understand the Embry ban. I'm thinking D.Va's a bit of an issue.
Couldn't agree more. Freight's going to go down. Amethyst going to trade out still, but at this point, I feel like Baker's going to either die in car or get out. You have these forward spawns. If you die at this point, you're not going to get these forward spawns.
Amethyzer is going to be coming back with a Blizzard, so I don't think they're necessarily ready to give up on the fight quite yet. The Mercy, of course, giving that May some beautiful sustain. A massive anti onto Mike and Amethyzer. The Blizzard does get activated. That's a very chilly cat that cannot move. Freight's going to finally be able to shut down a newly swapped Venture from Zach. And ECU, I mean, for all the good work they've done, they've gotten 14 meters of progress in the last 3 fights.
50 seconds left for the side of ECU. All they have is a nano and a grab. The grab should be enough to win them one fight alone. So then with the meterage difference and the fact that they don't have the first point cap yet, they're looking to have to win at least 3 fights to be able to get this win here, especially with only 30 seconds left. They can't afford to lose anything at this point.
Yeah, I didn't even consider they haven't gone through the checkpoint animation, which is about 10 seconds off of the clock for free, basically. But when you get 2 picks like that, that is the world-class way to open up a fight. Kote dying to Dynamite, no less. So nice play out of Lion there to at least get ECU across the checkpoint. But as you said, at least 2 more fights, and honestly, minimum 2, maximum 4 or 5.
Yeah, that late pick on the Amethyzer is definitely going to help. Both teams coming up on quite a few ultimates. So, I mean, Baker's been the one who's been the aggressor so far, but ECU finally got some momentum on their side. I think they might be able to start, getting really aggressive here.
We are going to see the blue side Bob from Baker getting walled off. Now it's going to be Nano up to, yeah, Mike almost at the bomb as well. I was going to say, it looks like another ulti's about to be ready. Bob's able to kill the tank. That is a best case scenario for the side of Baker. The coach gun keeps the Diva away, but Mike doesn't care. They're able to live. They've got the bomb ready to go. They trade the Mercy, but I believe that's all they're going to be finding. The bomb's going to pop. The wall goes down. Zach, the only one left standing outside of Marinette, and I fear and honor, try as you might, you don't have enough kit to win that fight. And Baker, a little bit scary there at the end, but all in all, a very clean front-to-back win.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, very impressive again. They showed their domination like they did on Ilios. Make that a 2-0 series, so the Tigers have a lot to think about heading into the break to figure out what they want to do to combat this dangerous Diva comp we're seeing out of the Baker Bees.
Yeah, the only thing is, right, if they want to go to a brawl map, do they need to necessarily waste a ban on the Diva? I would still honestly say yes. I think Mike might just play the Diva the rest of the series and say, it ain't broke, I'm not fixing anything. You stop me and then I'll respect you, but they just haven't, they've had like minimal answers to it, but I mean, Mike is just literally running everybody down despite whatever's happening in the fight.
So we got Baker Bees up 2-0, trying to make this a nice, clean 4-0. We're going to take a quick break and allow the ECU Tigers to figure something out to try and come back in the series. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome back from the intermission, where Baker is currently having a field day at the expense of ECU. They're up 2-0 in the series, and it's just a lot of question marks surrounding ECU of what are they necessarily the best at? What answers do they have for Baker? Right now, it just feels like they're kind of grasping at straws, and they've had a couple of nice fights here and there, but it really has felt like Baker's game from kill 1 to the end of the last map.
As it's all going to be down to what can we do to fix this and try and come back in this series, because you got 2 maps, or, Baker's just going to take this in a 4-0 sweep. And with that, we have some uncommon traits for both of these teams presented by our sponsor, the Army National Guard. So we'll be starting with Baker's Bees. Continue this aggression, man. You have been especially on Esports, man. Totally aggressive, and it worked out in your favor. That map was absolutely dominant. Stop dying when you may ult, please. Stop wasting res on that. And then I'm thinking that we're gonna start getting some better targeted bans. So have some backup plans for a possible diva ban.
Yeah, and I think Baker, I'm willing to bet money. They went into map 2 and said, Mike, you better get ready to play something else because they're not letting it through. Then they said, oh, Diva's just free? Well, this game might just be free as well. And now we can take a look at the traits for uncommon traits for ECU as well. And truthfully, kind of similar. And for the Mayall one, it kind of applies to both. Stop dying as soon as you use X Ultimate. But yeah, we can take a look at ECU now. And for them, it's going to be a little bit of a different story. They're trying to make sure they can, keep their players safe. They want to make sure that they're being a lot more aggressive toward that Baker side and just doing a lot to shut them down any way they can. And I mean, yeah, we mentioned it already, but just please ban the Diva. I don't care what map it is. We can't watch Mike do this anymore. And I mean, they had it too. Something with the May and the last few maps. If you use the Blizzard, you are guaranteed to die. As you said, you don't want to waste a res or any extra util to keep the May alive. And it just feels like Mike has literally been playing 1vx on their backline. So find some way to peel these DPS because they are going through it most of the map.
As for Baker trying to make on this third map, going up 3-0, putting themselves on championship point, ECU was able to pick what map we are going to next, and we do have that map pick coming in from them. It is going to be a hybrid map as we are headed to Midtown.
Yeah, and I think we have we had the hero bands up and now they're pulled up as well. So Baker, listen, can't die to a May ult or with the May ult if you don't play the May. So whether that's good or bad for ECU, we know not yet. They are going to ban away the Orisa on the other side, which of course a very, very strong pick on Midtown, but they haven't played Orisa yet. And I don't think Orisa is the biggest problem you could have on Midtown. So it must just be a pain point for them where they really struggle into it or the comp they play struggles into it because otherwise, like, it's a fine ban. But for what reason are we banning Orisa in the state of affairs here?
Yeah, I mean, I do think Orisa is good on this map, but I mean, Sigma is also still good on this map.
Yes.
I think Diva is still going to be fine if they so choose to play that if you're Baker. Even Ram as well. So I don't know. I'm a little surprised when we haven't seen them pull out the Orisa yet that they want to just take out that ban, but I don't know. We'll see.
Again, I'm assuming it's because whatever comp they're going to play just is nightmare fuel into it, or just said, you know what, we don't want it. What I do like out of Baker, the Diva might not work the entire map, but you run that hero until it is proven that ECU has an answer. Until they can peel that backline properly, until the Zarya can maybe shut you down, you run this into the ground until it is dead and buried. They're going to go Torb Bastion for the double DPS, which of course, when you're playing defense on Midtown, that can be nightmare fuel to try to cut through. And for ECU, they're going to bust out the Venture. The Symmetra, I guess, could theoretically stay. Don't know if it will. And Apollo Marinette, Brig, and Akiri for the backline.
Yeah, I like the idea of going the Zarya once again, especially in more of a close quarters map. But this defense from Baker, my goodness. Diva with Torb Bastion, that just makes me shudder a little bit. But I mean, if you know, with the Torb, the turret, you can really build up a lot of charge beam with a lot of this damage from the Zarya.
That was very, very sketchy for a second. I'm surprised the Symmetra lived, and it honestly worked so great for ECU. They get an insta-kill onto the Torbjorn, and now the Bastion does have to turret up, able to survive a little bit longer. Paint officially on the respawn. The Suzu keeping Freyed alive a little bit longer, which may just give Baker that extended chance in the fight. Other Suzu is burned up. Kote and Freyed both low on HP, but Amethyst are able to shut down Zac. So despite the fact ECU finds the first kill, okay, I was about to say, it is Baker finally getting back to the point, but ECU, they are making very good headroom.
Yeah, and 100 charge on this Zarya. I mean, you're just going to get melted as Freight goes down. We still have some touches on the point. That's Mike. Mech goes down. Torb goes down. And, man, ECU came out swinging, which interesting thing is, given that they were going to play Zarya here, Zarya actually plays really well into Orisa, so even more shocking that you went for that ban.
I was about to say, we've seen probably 1 billion and one times where you just run Zarya into Orisa and you're completely fine. Like, there's nothing to, right? You have a bubble for the Javelin, even the spin, like the Terra Surge, obviously, unless the Orisa goes golden, the Graviton Surge can find maximum value as Zac and the Emery and Pate there. looking to link up for a second there, but the Venture will burrow away to safety with ECU. I mean, their best 2 minutes of gameplay by far yet already. Empathizer sitting on the ulti, Marinette as well, and Mike, we mentioned it. You listen, they ran the Diva, it stopped working, time to run the Ram.
Yeah, and the Ram is much more favorable than the Zarya. You have that Nemesis form where you can hold your arms up and just deal with a lot of the damage from the Zarya. The Brig is now no longer. They're going to go over to the Juno, but the Symbol, one of the best ultimates in this game available for ECU Tigers.
Absolutely, splitting this Bastion up or the Emery up from the fight. These are very, very powerful tools that ECU, and we talked about ult management, and in the first 2 maps they played, it can be hard to find the best ultimates when it feels like you're playing on the back foot the entire time, but now that you've got the advantage, let's see these ultimates to good use. They are going to burn the sim wall a little bit early to split up that fight I was talking about as Zach. Whoa, very dangerous there, and Empathizer just ripping 2 in the meantime. A little bit of help from Mike and Frayed, and Baker picked a good time to win a big fight.
And they didn't use anything either, so Simwall's down. Ishmaelian going to go over to the Emery now. As now this is going to be the big fight for both of these teams as they're mounting upon 4 or 5 ultimates on each side. Zacatec's already down though, so you don't even have to look to take this fight if you're Baker and the ECU Tigers looking to back out and restart. As I think both teams probably going to look to open up these fights with Kitsune rushes. Maybe you look to get aggressive with this grab if you're Brawl Slayer.
Yeah, if you're going to get aggressive with it, you better make sure you land that onto ideally multiple targets. At least make sure you're able to get follow-up and kill the one target, as seeing some grenade work there on the head glitch, able to at least keep some of these ECU players at bay. But Zac Attack going underneath, which is name of the game with the Venture, now throwing shoulders back and forth with Amethyzer. The rest of the team now looking to link up and block the point. The Ramatra trying to ground the Venture, getting stuck up for a second. Now the Sound Barrier forced out of Freight. No other ultimates invested out of ECU. They, I think, thought about a tectonic shock. I think they're still thinking about it, and they absolutely are. Zac Attack looking to hit the backline with reckless abandon, but unfortunately not able to find anything, and that means the Override Protocol can shred through the first bubble and lay down the law for the rest of the squad for Baker, as ECU loses another player, and they're going to have to go back. They surged!
Wow, they used Grav there. They just get nothing out of it. That was, to me, a very much thrown fight there for the side of ECU Tigers. You would have loved to have that coming into the next fight. Now all you're going to have are your support ultimates while Baker has a Kitsune rush. They have their Annihilation. They're still going to have their Bastion ult. That was a disastrous fight for the side of the ECU Tigers.
They didn't check the uncommon traits, especially with something as impactful as a Graviton Surge, and that was
you got a junk on the field, though.
That is very, very true. Zac's going to swap to the junk to at least try to cause some chaos on the map, and at this point, I don't necessarily hate anything ECU tries. It feels like Baker has made the requisite counter swaps that they needed, and they've kind of got a good read on ECU and how they want to play as Zac able to mine jump away to safety. Ultimates getting burned or built up for both sides. Annihilation, Kitsune, of course, very threatening if that Ramatra has a little bit of time and space to operate, but ECU, they just can't break this high ground now.
That they cannot paint's going to find Zac. That's the thing about the Junkrat is there's just, from distances, Emery is just going to win. It's going to be tough. Once you get into the close quarter fight, you're going to look fine, but until then, you're just going to get spammed out.
Yeah, speaking of spam out, Paint taking a good time to get active there. We'll connect with the nade to ensure these ECU players are not ready to medal up for a second fight. And oh my goodness, they are shredding Ishmaelian all the way from back on the heady. Barrier is going to get sent up, and ECU Override Protocol gets activated. They don't really have a good angle to find a kill. It's 2 Emerys going back and forth sky high. We'll see which one's able to win the duel. Ishmaelian does win the Emery duel, but Amethyzer are able to shut down Zac, and now Mike. Annihilation online. Kitsune rush at their back just like a nice cold breeze, and Mike's able to run through 2 more. And ECU, considering they had 5 minutes basically after the capture, they must be shell-shocked.
Yeah, the thing is, and Baker didn't even have to use, I mean, the Annihilation, fine. I don't think they needed the Kitsune rush to go along with that. Probably would have been better to hold that. So now all you have is a Bastion ult coming into both support ultimates for ECU Tigers. Also, they're now on the Sigma, trying to hope that these rocks can be disruptive and just having some span damage. And Amethizer's already down, so that ultimate's off the table as well.
Yeah, not even ready to pop it. That was a nice execute coming through from Zac. Unfortunate thing for ECU is they will have to kill everybody again, essentially, because it's overtime, and there's enough distance between themselves and that checkpoint where it's not going to be a free fight. The sound barrier will be ready again. Now Amethyzer sending the ulti. The rock gets slipped by Freight. Brawl Slayer looking to absorb all that damage that they can. The sound barrier does get activated. Gonna connect onto all 5 players. Orbital Ray Kitsune the answer out of ECU, and they've got to make sure they lock in this fight any which way. 2 DPS will trade back and forth. Amethyzer and Zac both getting active. Amethyzer eventually will fall. Oh, but Kotai finds a trade. Big rock onto Freight to shut him down. ECU, they might have just done it.
Yeah, but if they hold long enough, some of these players might be able to come back. The spawns are so much closer for the side of Baker. Bees, a lot of players have found their spawns. Now they're coming back. Oh, Paint going down on the high ground. That might have sealed the deal. Yeah,
with the Riptire potentially in the fold as well. Luckily, will not be needed for the side of ECU. Baker, though, they're going to pull up 3 strong, but they just got destroyed by the Junkrat again. And then the long-range bomb to land onto the head of Freight to jump away to safety. This Junkrat has been doing everything for ECU.
Yeah, exactly. Once you get the Junkrat into a position where it can do a lot of work, it's extremely dangerous. Able to get that point, but I mean, 5.5 minutes drained off the clock, so you have like no time to attack the second point. But they have lots of ultimates, both their DPS and their Flux. Baker tried to use everything to hold that second point. They are coming up on Override Protocol, but that's kind of it. Maybe Kitsune Rush coming soon.
And still, of course, the great equalizer and the Riptire that will just, you might hear the audio cue, but then when it pops up around the corner, it can be absolute devastation as Zac attack just taking all the space that they want across the high ground. They're chunking people left and right. And now the Riptire. This looks like a tire angle if I've ever seen one, especially considering there's 40 seconds left. They go for the one-shot combo. They don't land it, and then the Override Protocol gets summoned. Mike's able to cut down the opposite side, Emery. And that means Baker, they should have a very big advantage going forward. They can find another stagger here. Apollo will fall. So they hold on to the Riptire. They go for a late Flux.
Not sure how I feel about that, especially now that you've gotten 2 picks after that. I mean, you've got the Kiri, but the Kiri's going to backfire. I guess that's the only consolation prize you get is you force Diva Mech, but Sig Flux, I don't know if that's worth it, man. You want to get kills with that.
And you're probably just, considering how much time is left, there's a very real chance you're just not getting that back online again. Sigma's not a character that is dealing out thousands and thousands of damage a second. It's going to take a little bit to get online. The Riptire, though, this sucker can definitely take somebody down in one fell swoop. Zac able to cut Amethyzer down to size. We're going to see dueling Kitsunes out of both sides. Baker looking to lock in as much as they can. They do not want ECU advancing another meter. And Mike on the Diva looking to take space and pace. Kote falls again to the Junkrat. Whatever team wins this map, Zac has my vote for MVP. And ECU, if they can find another kill, they might be able to do this with Bastion all coming in late and maybe a stagger to follow. Big kill onto the Junkrat, but Apollo trading out Paint means that there are a few meters and Baker's got nothing to contest.
Yeah, and the Sigma's going to get in front of them and, you know, do the eat and get all 3 points. So despite how bad it was looking on that second point, the Junkrat swap comes in. ECU able to get all 3 points.
That was very, very close out of both sides, but ultimately Baker giving up that little bit of extra space to the side of ECU, and still a very clean round from him, especially after a couple maps that, I mean, realistically, there wasn't many positives to pull away. It was pretty well all doom and gloom. Well, we will see Baker. Of course, the good thing is they gave up the capture within the first 30 seconds of the round starting. And when a team has 5 minutes and you force them to OT, even if they do finish the map, you're still at least liking the situation. And flip side for ECU, if it does go to OT, you at least gave yourself a chance to play again instead of getting stopped at the 1 yard line and then just losing 3-2 like we have seen so many times before.
As we take a look at this attack for Baker, we see Paint going back over to the Pharah. I like Pharah on the attack on this map. I'm going to go to the old pharmacy well. Let's see, for the defense, yeah, you're going to keep Zac on that Junkrat. No surprises there. They are going to play the Sim defensively. Sim junking a Pharah, that's actually going to be a dangerous situation for ECU. They have no one who can really shoot at the pharmacy.
Yeah, and even though it is a classic duo, there's a reason that it was played ad nauseum, and that is because it gets you value and then some. My eyes are going to be on Zac attack. Can this Junkrat find equal or greater value? Probably hard to find more value than the last round. They were probably the sole reason that ECU was actually in that round and got as far as they did. It was executions on the high ground, catching out the Emery, catching out whatever player that they were, the Bastion a few times. It was overall just solid work from a player that got subbed in mid-series too, right? That wasn't somebody that started out the series for ECU. They came in, said, my Junkrat is him. They found a lot of value as Freight was taken down early, so Baker, they'll have to sit back for a little while longer.
So that's going to be the issue, especially when you're playing Ana Mercy. The Ana is going to be by itself a lot of the time. Your Diva's going to have to appeal for them a lot because they're kind of just like the sitting duck in this composition. So it's going to be on this Pharmacy trying to rain a lot of damage in and look for these picks.
Yeah, Brawl Slayer's been putting on a clinic, though, so far on the Sigma. Amethyst are just not able to get going on the Soldier nice and early, and that means Baker, they're in a rough spot early, but the beauty of the Mercy is that you can pick up the fallen soldiers. They're able to scoop Amethyzer back up into the fight and back down again. We're giving Brawl Slayer free ult charge. Apparently, this Soldier just in shackles the entire map so far, and Baker, I mean, they're the ones that haven't done a single thing on the offense now.
Yeah, this has just been slow going for Baker's B. I mean, they're trying to find something there. That's what you're looking for. Get the Junkrat there. Now that's the go sign.
Yeah, they better go and go very quickly. They are going to swap over to the Reaper as well to maybe see if Amethyzer can just do what Junkrat was doing, put some pressure on the back line. There's a lot of damage going through to the Ana, and even with Baker finding a kill and having a clear 5v4 advantage with no staggers, they just can't do anything with it. And now there's under 2 minutes to go just into the capture alone. Ultimate's almost at the ready. The Mercy and the Rocket Barrage are damn near ready to go, and ECU, they do have the Gravitic Flux, and the Sup Ulti's about ready to go. They're going to trade the DPS 1-for-1 in the early setup here. And now the split fight with the Sim Ulti. The Gravitic Flux is going to be activated by Brawl Slayer. No kills, but the later kill on the Paint. And Baker, what happened to the team we just saw 10 minutes ago? They can't do anything.
Yeah, this Sim Junk, man, it's just Sim Junk Sig. It's too much damage for even the Diva to handle, and they just, the Pharmacy is not finding enough picks to justify, you know, committing 2 heroes to this. I mean, they're finding 1 pick here or there, but they can't get the follow-up for the team to get in and clean these guys up.
Oh, I was just about to call Paint's name for a game-saving Rocket Barrage, and then they get fly-swatted in the same frame, so that will not be an option. The res does come through, and Baker, I mean, truthfully, we've got to headbutt the front door, and we've got to get something going, because we are slowly but surely just losing the game for free. Junkrat able to find one, able to catch a trap onto another, and ECU just beating the brakes off of Baker. The only one to find a kill is Amethyzer, and he's going to be low on HP. Same thing with Mike. Okay, yep, Zach is MVP of Midtown, and Baker's not going to win. They can't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, it
looks like he's cheating. He's so good right now.
I mean, when you're running Lucio Mercy now, it's like, come on, do you really expect to win with that support combo? We're going to see the Rocket Barrage coming in, but you find one, but you've lost your Mercy as well, so feels like this might just be it for the side of Baker's Bees.
15 seconds left. They're losing players left, right, and center. There's more hard CC onto the Diva, so I guess they did find the answer. The answer was maybe in the form of a Sigma, and honestly, I mean, Zac Attack, maybe they're mostly a junk player, and that's why they didn't start them in the first map, but this has unequivocally been your best player, and it's not even close, and the Super Sub has been just helping to backpack the rest of the team, give them that little extra oomph to get them across the finish line. And now Baker, I mean, this map is over. Just wave the white flag.
Yeah, I mean, just a dominating effort from the ECU Tiger Knights, capping all 3 points, and then first point holding not even a single tick.
Yeah, just utter and complete domination out of ECU to at least push us to a 5-map series, should that be the final straw. And yeah, funny enough on the Zarya, but all the good work was done on the Sigma, especially in the second half, taking the Pharah out of midair, knocking the Diva down a couple of times. Of course, the little speed run with the turrets always help out, or the TPs to get everybody nice and up there. And yeah, this was the first fight of the game when they TP'd in, took down Baker, and asked no questions about it. But ECU, I mean, seems like they found a lot of answers to the test in that map. The only thing is, right, that was their pick. They got to do the first ban, so team like Baker, now it's their turn to have some strategy thought and talk things over.
I mean, just when you thought the Bees might cruise to a 3-0, possibly looking to make it a 4-0, ECU able to find the goods, get themselves a good map pick. The Orisa ban, I mean, I'm not sure if Orisa was ever going to be played, but in the end, it all ended up working out as now the Bees, they get to, put the map control in their favor now. They get the ban. So my guess is I'd probably just take us to a map that's good at Diva, and I'd ban a tank that's not Diva so they can't ban Diva.
I would do the exact same thing because even then, Mike, even though the Diva didn't find a ton of value, it was still doing its thing. It's just the rest of the team was getting annihilated by every time Zach would look a direction, it was trap, set up C4, kill, bombs. The Riptire finds a big kill onto the Bastion in round one. I mean, that pick completely changed the entire game, which is the beauty of just having that pocket pick on Midtown where it's like, we haven't got a kill in what feels like a couple minutes on the last two maps. You pull out the Junkrat, and even if you only cheese your way to one victory, 1 out of 4 ain't bad.
It definitely is not bad at all. So for ECU knowing, let's say, I don't know, just gonna throw out like a Gibraltar or something. You're taking a Gibraltar, they ban Winston, so then Diva's the good map there. Question is, what do you do there knowing it's a crap? Now they're at a map that's really good. Our Sigma, maybe it could be okay on that map, but how do you look to go after them now? Now that they're going to be the ones in control and wanting to tie this up 2-2, because going down 3-1, it's almost like reverse sweeping in a best of 5 series. So definitely not going to be ideal. So making sure you tie this up 2-2, very, very important.
Yeah, and even though it wouldn't be the best on every map, just from what we've seen, I wouldn't be angry if ECU waits, see Mike Lock Diva, just slam the Sigma immediately, even if it doesn't make the most sense with your comp. It's doing a lot better in a vacuum in these smaller one-on-one exchanges that we've seen. So I would just stick with the hot hand. If the map calls for a Junkrat, give Zach the leeway to play it out for a life or two, see if it's going to find that same value. If not, maybe you bust open the books and think of something else. But for Baker, I've got a lot of faith they can definitely figure stuff out, but that was certainly an uppercut they just took. I'm sure they were not expecting that map to go the way it did from fight number one when you get steamrolled to almost stopping them pushing to that second checkpoint, and then you don't even get a tick.
As we are waiting for the map pick and bans coming in from both of these teams, but been a crazy series so far, which has been interesting because it's been 2 maps dominated by one team, which was Baker Bees, and then a third map dominated by ECU Tigers. So we haven't had a single close map, if we're honestly speaking here. It's been one team either dominating or the other team dominating. So are we going to continue to see that trend, or do some of these maps start to get closer?
Yeah, we had the one flashpoint that came down to the very last. Other than that, it's just been what version of which team are we going to get? And I feel like even collegiate esports this year, going even to Rocket League and other titles, it really is just a circle of I beat you, you beat me, then they beat us. Everybody's getting got this semester in every single title for whatever reason. Something's in the air. I know people are getting back from LAN season and traveling out the next month for whatever other events are going on. I know DreamHack's happening next week. So everyone right now just playing for fun, putting their best foot out there on the server. And yeah, still waiting to get the bans in. But again, I don't even really know what map I would expect Baker to try to take us to. Obviously, the Diva has looked well. We haven't seen them play a second of Brawl yet, so not sure if that's going to be their forte or their preference. And we are going to have Gibraltar is going to be the map. Sigma is going to be banned away. So it looks like Baker got some very good intel there.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense given, they're protecting their Diva. And yeah, I mean, you saw them play Sigma on that map. It looked really good. And there's Gibraltar's a map where you can make the Sigma work. It's not the best tank, but it's a map where it can work. So you're taking away probably their best tank on this map, and you're protecting your best tank on this map. So I really like that.
And I think it just plays back to the first series like we talked about, where you don't have to get too cute. What is the other team doing really good? We need to make sure that stops right now. What are we doing well? Let's try to keep that alive and facilitate that as best as we can. We'll try to run these guys best on best, and we like our chances if you're looking at both of these teams, but especially the way Mike had been playing. I mean, I'm expecting the Diva is definitely going to be unleashed, assuming it's able to get through and everything, and just to see if Baker can I just don't know if we're going to get a stomp or an actual map of Overwatch, because like you said, it really just feels like we are just spinning a wheel of results at this point, and certain players are playing terrible and then looking like Overwatch League MVPs the next. People can't buy a kill, then they can't lose a fight the next map, so it has been a total mixed bag the entire evening, not even just talking about this series. So listen, if you're ECU, step one of the comeback is complete. 3-1, like you said, though, it's, oh man, that's rough.
I believe we're still waiting on what the second ban from ECU is going to be. As we mentioned, we do know Baker did ban that Sigma, but Gibraltar going to be extremely favorable to the Diva composition that we've seen them dominate on Ilios and Esperanza. Question is, are we going to see the Pharah out of them, which I think is less likely? I think we could start to see the Ashe come out once again. Even if you want to play the Mercy with it, Ashe is probably going to be the more preferable choice on a map like this. Having a hit scan long range is going to be huge on Gibraltar.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be Ashe or even an Emery, something like that, if they just want to go a little bit simpler. But yeah, the Pharah, it feels like it had maximum value. Then when you remember there's a pharmacy in the game, fairly easy to deal with, all things considered. You just have to be able to hit your shots, basically, as long as those two are up in the sky, and try to navigate the rocket barrage if that gets online. So I wouldn't really expect to see the Pharah again. I do think that it kind of, got its value and the well has been dried up, so to speak. But just with Gibraltar being as open as it is, I mean, if ECU doesn't ban Diva, I hope they've got the best Winston mirror match or Hazard in North America, because otherwise, there's what more practical ban could you have with this position of Mike and this map?
As we'll be finding that out here shortly, still waiting on that ban. But as you can see on the screen, as we kind of talked about coming into this, not a single close map. I know 1-0 looks like it was just 1-0. No, that was like 140-ish meters to like 100-ish meters. And it was really just like a staggered final fight that got them closer. That was mostly a dominant map coming out from Baker.
Yeah, it was all just like garbage time yards and points at the end of a game where it's like, okay, like we can look back at the match history. Yeah, we only lost by 40, but they were down 120 the entire game, which is, I will say, I give a lot of credit to the two teams earlier and ECU now. It's very easy to get just battered the first two maps and go, you know what? Baker's better than us. They're the 1 seed. We've had a really good run, guys. It's been a fun season, but instead you just bite back, you change up the composition, you throw a wrench in the works, and they are looking a lot better so far. But yeah, Midtown under the belt. Gibraltar, obviously the next one on the docket. And unfortunately, these players, I mean, ECU again, if we're doing all this to ban Diva, at least we ban Diva. If we're not banning Diva.
You can't ban Diva. Remember, Sig was banned.
Oh, correct. Oh, man. Then they must not even know what to ban either. They're probably just like trying to debate. No idea.
All right. Well, while we wait for this, we are getting dono walled by them. We're going to throw it to a quick break. So we'll be right back.
Well, hopefully the discussions have been well warranted, and we figured out what the ban's going to be and what strategy we're going to employ going forward between Baker and ECU Tigers, with Baker up 2-1 in the series as we head over to Gibraltar with the bans coming through. But we've got gameplay to display. It is going to be a Sigma and then a Mercy ban from the side of ECU, which I guess we have seen all of tonight, and Baker has picked it up. But again, another ban that is just, I don't want to say throwaway, but I don't know if it's the highest priority.
I mean, it gets them away from playing like the Ashe Mercy cheese, so I kind of understand it. We're just going to force Baker onto like more meta what we saw them on Ilios a little bit, which is the carry Lucio. As Paint currently showing the Widow, I wonder if they'll stick that, which is fine for Gibraltar, or if they'll go to more of an Ashes. We do see ECU playing that Domina, so maybe that ban makes a lot more sense, back at Esperanza from Baker.
Yeah, I was gonna say at least maybe they did have a good read, or I don't think they played in the regular season, so they must have either done some VOD review or checked the standings, or at least maybe they played against the players or even know them, so hey, this guy's good at these couple of picks. We can shut this tank down in X, Y, and Z. So we will see if the Widowmaker does have an elongated stay into the fold, as we obviously got to look for the opening headshot. Looks like we went for the one and done, and swap will be coming on through. I assume that's going to be something like the Ashe or the Embry, although Paint has actually going to be the Sombra, so we're going to flip the script completely and send a little backline flanker and see if we can shake up the series.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get a good hack and, get someone, I mean, the Junkrat should be a little bit scared of the potential of the Sombra. Obviously, you can throw a lot of damage onto, like, the Ashe as well. I don't hate it, but definitely, not the hero you'd expect on this map.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's probably an answer to the Junkrat in some capacity. And Amethyzer, I don't know what happened there, but we ended up off the map, and now Kote falls as well.
Themselves with their projectile grenade.
Oh, that would make sense. I was curious. I was looking for boops on the other team, but there was no enemy faces in the feed, so I was piecing that one together as Baker get a little bit of progress as is expected, but they get stonewalled, and ECU back to the high ground.
Yeah, I mean, Bastion Sombra is definitely not. I don't know if it's going to be the right choice to try and break this high ground hold from the ECU Tigers. Or maybe you can get your Bastion in a good position and force them away, but yeah, it looks like they're just going to look to try and force Card a little bit. Good. What was that, Coach Gun Boop it looked like?
I do believe so, and the Dynamite was almost on point as well, and then Paige just getting ripped off of the heady by the Ashe. The long-range sniper getting active, a little fade away onto the D.Va as the D-Mech, and no remech, because of course Brawl Slayer is able to find the kill, and certainly unorthodox comps to say the least, but Baker, I just don't like what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, I mean, these are the kind of comps, you get Division 9, it's just going to be teams playing to like their best heroes and what they've practiced a lot. As we see Amethyzer getting off the Bashing, going over to the Tracer. I think since you're playing Tracer, you don't need this Sombra anymore. I would definitely be playing a hit scan at this point.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's going to be a case of Paint, try to get the EMP, and after that, you're going to be the one that's going to have to swap, and we'll see if we can use the EMP to just basically call a fight for us, as the Junkrat, not ready to go down quite yet, says, I don't care who you're playing or what team is across the server from me. I'm able to find the traps, find a couple of kills, and I don't know what happened to Baker between map 2 and then 3 and 4, but this is not the same team.
Yeah, I mean, feels like the Junkrat has thrown them all the way off, and they just do not have an answer for it, as crazy as that sounds. They just can't break through the amount of damage that they're holding on this high ground. EMP just being a slow burn. I mean, by the time you use it, you're gonna use it, and then if you don't win, you're in final fight territory.
And honestly, at this point, I bet they're wishing they just banned the Junkrat instead and let the Sigma do his thing, because Mike played fine enough into it. Like, yes, it's annoying, and yes, the Sigma did have success, but ultimately the game was fine. The tank 1v1 wasn't the biggest issue of the game. It was the Junkrat murdering the backline on cooldown, and it really doesn't feel like they found an answer for it. Paint dies without popping the EMP. The D.Va will remech. Sound barrier is ready. But with 35 seconds left, ECU, Panopticon, Kitsune Rush ready to go. They've got enough to take a fight.
Yeah, you do have Sound Barrier, which is going to help you against Panopticon, but it could help you outlast the Kitsune Rush. So let's see what they decide to do here.
Lion, there's a big EMP onto all 5 of the ECU players, but you could have fooled me because it's Baker the ones that come up battered and bruised. Both DPS die again. A beautiful little fader there onto Freyd's head, and Baker, I mean, the round's over, isn't it? Like, they're cooked.
Yeah, no, I mean, 2 seconds left. I mean, you're going to get the D.Va coming in. And they will eat the Panopticon, but I mean, there's no one here to really do anything.
Yeah, I don't really think it's going to do much of anything. Baker, I mean, I would say back to the drawing board, but we just had 15 minutes to figure out a map 4 comp, and we didn't do anything at all. Again, Zack Attack just running the entire server. Never in my life would I think a Junkrat and the big 2-6 would completely just throttle a team.
We talked about the Tiger Knights needing to tie the series up 2-2. Well, I mean, I'm more than willing to say I think they're making this a 2-2. I mean, yes, it is possible to get the fuller hold, but it just seems like Baker Bees, they don't know what to do at this point.
I mean, yeah, the grasping for straws is putting it, I mean, just look at the scoreboard. That's 1 elimination for Amethyzer, and I think that came a little earlier in the round. So you just look, it is Donut City in the kills and the assists, and yeah, men lie, women lie. Numbers, they tell the whole truth, and this is exactly what we are watching. ECU domination through and through. I mean, Baker, at least you get to run the Bastion Tor, but from a more advantageous position, but it needs to be 4 minutes of flawless gameplay, or it is 2-2.
Nice to see the defense coming out for the Tiger Knights. They're going to go, the offense. They're going to go with the Zarya, which is a little interesting. Definitely not what I'd expect on Gibraltar, but they made the domino work on defense, so I'm not going to comment on that. The defense for Baker is the diva. They're going to go with the Bastion Torb again. We saw that back on Midtown, and it did not work so well.
Yeah, I've got Apollo on the Mizuki as well to try to neutralize some of that airborne threat from the diva. Can certainly play very, very well into it if they're able to set up the trap and tether the diva down to planet Earth, as the TP will get taken out nice and fast by the side of Baker. And we said it, all the pressure is on them now. ECU, they did their job, and probably 2 or 3 more people's jobs en route to a just crisp and clean round 1. And all they need to do is not even reach the first checkpoint, and we've got a deadlock series and a best of 3 for everything.
Bastion on this high ground, going to pop the form, but they're doing the right thing and just backing up and hiding. That's kind of how you have to go play against the Bastion, is wait out the form and then go as soon as you know that's gone. They have this TP to really get themselves in and out, but they weren't able to take advantage of that.
There we go. I was literally about to say, if we ever see Zach jump in the air like we saw 10 seconds ago, we got to execute that individual immediately. They catch Zach going for a cheeky little flank, and to Zach's credit, they've been getting away with double and triple murder for the entire series, so might as well go for that whenever you see the opportunity. As the tanks look to square off under the overpass, the diva will be forced to back away with Mike, and Bubble through as well with damage going through. Mike's actually getting taken very low, but it is going to be Paint that walks up and gets another kill onto Zach. So the Torbjorn, been a nice answer to the Junkrat so far, but ECU 2.7 meters. Of course, they've got a lot of players to kill, but they are right there.
They're going to get the Zen. It is in trade for both their supports. So they're trading back and forth. Can they get the kills? The sim wall is going to go up, but it is too little too late, as you kind of wish you would have held on to that ult.
Yeah, seemed like a good idea at the time, and then 2 players instantly fell immediately after, so it doesn't feel that great. But for Baker, Diva Bomb, Molten Core, Bastion ult, you've got the Trans as well ready to go, so plenty of tools to at least. And for Baker, Zen, not something we see a lot, but when you need to stall a team out on a cart in potential overtime, doesn't get much better than the Transcendent, as the TP game is ready to go, and they are right back out of there. That was a very dangerous door to walk through, as the Torp turret will fall. Baker 4 ultis online. ECU, though, got Zach with the junk rapid Hypnotizer, shutting down the Mizuki, and now Zach's caught out. They shut him down too. ECU, this is getting into dangerous territory, a minute and a half, but with these staggers, it's going to get real dicey real quick.
Yeah, the team, they get the Symmetra. Now they all should be able to collapse onto the Zarya and, what was it, the Kiri? No, it looks like they're going to get out. You could have gotten the staggers. You would have been in a really good spot. ECU, they got Ishmaelian off the Sim, back over to the Ash. 4 ultimates for both teams. 1 minute left on the clock. Can Baker Bees actually get this fuller hold?
They got to keep Freight alive. That Zarya was full charged with bad intentions, running down the Zenyatta immediately. Oh my goodness, a ton of damage going through. Riptire gets sent in, doesn't find a kill. The Diva Bomb gets sent out. Mike should be able to remech as long as nothing goes wrong. Kitsune Rush sent in from the side of Marinette and ECU. They're looking to take the fight to Baker as fast as they can. Kote trying to get alive to get the rush online. Graviton Surge gets used, but the Molten Core answers onto Apollo, the Transcendence, and the ult from Amethyzer, just to make sure that Baker's got what they need to win the fight. ECU, they invested a ton, same with Baker, but ECU are the ones that got nothing from it.
Yeah, you still have some players up, but all that damage onto the Zarya, the Suzu is just too late. 15 seconds and your Zarya is in spawn. Zacatec having to go over to the Venture now. The only ult online for either team is going to be the Kakai Sanctuary from Apollo, so you at least have that going for you if you're the side of ECU, as Zach taking a lot of damage.
Ulti is going to get popped from Apollo. This is going to be the fight for the map, for a 1-1 or a 2-2 or a 3-1 series. Paints Util the first thing to fall in the fight. Ishmael's going to be the first one taken to 1 HP. They fall. Baker's got the opening pick that they've been desperately looking for. The Mizuki's able to survive on 1 HP, but there is a player getting run down. Freight survives the attack. Oh my goodness, Baker. In the 11th hour, they dig in their heels. The Bastion is hammering away, and ECU, for all the fight you just put up, and they couldn't close the map.
Wow, my jaw dropped. Baker Bees able to get the Fuller hold. My
Wow.
goodness, what a map.
Unbelievable from Baker. And I hate to harp on teams because I'm not the one playing, but what were they doing in round one? They looked like they weren't using their hands or their brain cells collectively, and then round two it said, oh, we need to lock in. We're not about to be in a 2-2 series. We want to go up 3-1. Let them deal with the map in the first ban and all that jazz. Just a perfect answer to two sides of every coin, every series, right? Baker doing the what are you doing? And then, oh my goodness, perfect team fighting.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, that is the dichotomy of Overwatch, especially when you get to these lower Division 9 games, man. You just get shockers left and right. Well, folks, we find ourselves in a 3-1 series. That is another 2 maps, so we're going to take a quick break, give ECU a chance to figure out how they're going to try and win these next 3 maps in a row. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Well, somehow Baker pulls out the 3-1 lead after a just double-sided Gibraltar, if there ever was one. They get effectively shut out on the offense, and then they shut out ECU even harder when they flip sides. So we're going to be taking our talents over to Atlas, which is a map I very much enjoy watching. Don't get to see it all that often. And Baker, good ban.
And ECU, good ban. Diva Junkrat bans.
It only took us 5 maps to get
here. Both sides going up with good bans. As we see ECU rolling out on the Brawl composition with the Ramatra May. While Baker, it makes sense. You can't play Diva, play the Hazard. And they're going to play May of their own as well. As one side's going to play the Kiri Lucio, which is classic meta. While the others side, we saw this on Gibraltar, going to play the Ana Life.
Yeah, we did see Apollo picking up the Life Weaver a little bit, and of course, after the changes with the cleanse and everything, it definitely is a pick that can find more value. Still not necessarily a 1A or 1B in the support slot, but certainly has more of a role than they had before, which was a fairly negligible one, and I'm excited to see the Hazard. Mike's been on Diva duty the entire series. We finally get a switch, and Baker, Zach, you take him off the Junkrat, and the May just immediately meeting the Emery nade face-to-face. Baker going to find the first kill well before the point even unlocks.
As Baker, ideally, you probably want to look to get one more and stagger them out, but you will at least ensure you're getting the point at this juncture, and they will get Ishmaelian. So there you go. You cap the point, and then you start pushing up, start taking these aggressive positions, looking for more. Oh no, that is not what you need. You lost paint.
Not optimal after you had a very nice set of fights. You did actually find a stagger or two, and then immediately that DPS that was wreaking havoc falls away very quickly. But now the Maywall to keep this fight split. Mike going to bed, and Ishmaelian scooping up the kill with the rest of the crew there. Baker, to their credit, they are going to be well above 40% here, so even though they losing a bit of an iffy fight here, they got themselves a nice little lead to open us up.
As we're going to see a really bad stagger onto this May. I would not have ice blocked there. Just dive faster. You're just giving them more free percentage. I mean, you're going to have a Blizzard at least. You're way further ahead than Zach in that. So I don't know if they'll be expecting the Blizzard to be online so quickly, actually.
Yeah, maybe that's why Amethyzer said, listen, I'm getting every percentage I can get before I fall. Because, yeah, normally the ice block there is a little bit trolly, but if you're able to take the fight to ECU and catch them sleeping with a Blizzard that they are probably not ready for, it could be very big for them as Amethyzer holding on to it for now as they're able to put a little bit of pressure onto ECU's front line, but the May is dead immediately again, so no threat of the Blizzard because there's no threat of a May. The anti connects onto Mike. They'll be lucky to walk away. It looks like they are able to. Downpour ready to go, and in the meantime, Paint is taking over the fight. The Downpour is going to get slipped, and Brawl Slayer finds a kill in the meantime. Now it's Hazard versus Emery. I do not think Emery wins that one. ECU still in control of the point, by the way.
Yeah, 94% and counting, and they are going to get the flip onto this point as they got to look for these exit stragglers, but they didn't. The only thing they used was the Hazard. They're going to Kitsune Rush when they don't even have a lot of their team up there using it, and you're just going to completely back out of your ECU, and they still have 5 ultimates to use.
Yeah, ECU said, that's a great thing that we just heard because we've got something coming the other way. And, I mean, yeah, Nano May, Nano Emery Override, you've got so many options. It's making them dizzy, and exactly what I was thinking. The Nano Protocol will be summoned in. The Maywall able to block off one, and then just body blocking the doorway, and then followed up by a Blizzard. It's a beautiful trap play onto the Emery. Amethyst are able to block up and give Mike some more space to operate. The Emery able to hammer away on the Ramatra. And ECU, try as they may, the Annihilation will get summoned in and is actually able to find a kill. It forces out the Override Protocol, the Tree of Life, and the Annihilation. ECU has flipped the point back in their favor, but the Override Protocol does enough to turn the tides.
Yeah, so point will flip. Baker Bees will win this point. It did, cost both sides pretty much everything in their tanks. So very disappointing from the Tigers to not eventually get that. The issue is we're getting close to both another downpour and a beat for the Baker Bees. As I mentioned, the Tigers used everything in that fight. They're not close to anything.
Yeah, and I was thinking 5 ultis, what can go wrong? Well, we can somehow find a way to lose the fight because, again, Paint and Zach have been when they go unchecked, they will kill half of your team. They've shown time and time again as Zach. Nice right click onto Freight to find that kill and keep the potential sound barrier at bay for the first engagement as ECU, with the player advantage, they should look to take a little bit of space here, but the DPS get traded back again and Nanty onto the Hazard. He's gonna force Mike back, but you called it. Downpour is already ready to go and it gets summoned out. Ishmaelian nowhere to go. Same with the other players on the back line. The right click to hold out some extra damage deflection. And Mike, I mean, right, you play Hazard just like you play Diva, and that is with no fear in your heart.
So we're going to see Amethyzer getting out of dodge as this time Zach has kept up with Amethyzer on this May ult, so both teams going to have the Blizzard coming in this next fight. Issue is Freight has the sound barrier to kind of deal with it, so Baker's just primed in a good position. Kitsune Rush going to come out now.
Yeah, Ishmaelian's on a bit of a long mission right now, so if this Cassidy can't find anything, effectively making ECU fight 4v5, they do Blizzard up to both supports though, so the sound barrier ends up not doing as much as they would have hoped because the Blizzard catches 2 prime targets. Baker, again, for them, sucks to lose a fight. Good thing is you took yourselves a very nice lead, and they're still contesting for a little bit longer.
Yeah, when both the supports get caught, doesn't matter that they got the overhead of the sound barrier, everyone just shoots the supports and they will die. Despite all of that, so they're able to hold there. Blizzard's still coming online for the side of ECU, so you're gonna have to be, for the side of Baker, you're gonna have to be very worried about that. But that's the only ultimate on their plate right now is Tigers coming up on their other 4 ultimates.
Yeah, and the key for ECU, seeing what we've seen in this map so far, they've really got to manage these ultimates. Not good, almost perfectly, because Baker has been capitalizing on very tiny windows or very small mistakes that will ultimately just lose you a championship in the grand scale of things, as 55% and counting. The Blizzard does connect. Both of the, or just the one Blizzard, yeah, Zach getting frozen up there. The Deadeye gets used up, but no kill is found. A flashbang to the face of Paint, but they answer back with the other nade. Great work out of Paint, the Embry there to keep Baker alive in the fight a little bit longer, but the Ramatra's wheeling and dealing with the Nano. Annihilation Nano, and it looks like ECU may have just won P2.
You say that, but they're getting away. The ice block comes in. Okay, the Tree of Life might be... Yeah, there we go. The Tree of Life is able to do it. They're going to get the second point. Very well played from the side of Tiger Knights. Again, it's going to cost them absolutely everything, but I think you'll take that, considering you're going to have your May ult coming into this next point.
Well, I give Baker credit, I guess. They're still stalling out P2 as long as humanly possible. Eventually, though, ECU will find the staggers that they need. They will be able to scoop up P2, and now we're in a Atlas best of 3, potentially for the championship here in Division 9, as ultis favoring Baker for now. At least you've got Paint and Mike ready to go, and both supports are effectively ready to go once a few seconds of fighting happens. Zach looking for a big angle with the Blizzard. I mean, the May ultis have been a pain point for a lot of the series.
Override Protocol coming out for Paint. Can they find it? They are going to force out the ice block. It looks like that's going to be forced out of the roll as well. So many low people, they're able to clean it all up.
I cannot believe that Mike actually lives. Shout out Kote and Freight before they fell. They kept that Hazard alive on like 40 HP to hold their right click and essentially just call the fight for the Bees there, as a full team kill is the final result. They're able to scoop up the point, and now they can look to play a little bit of defense.
Yeah, and they're able to win that with just the singular ult commit. And at the same time, Paint's already 40% to another ultimate, so that's absolutely nutty. Man, this Emery hero is just busted. That's ridiculous.
My next thought was going to be, I cannot believe we haven't had like a major change, considering it has been like 2 months of Emery just literally.
Mid-season patch on Tuesday.
Okay, so maybe we'll finally... I assume we'll have to get... Maybe not to make him useless like they sometimes do, but there's got to be some tonnage down of the damage as Mike overextending from the rest of the team. And Baker, I feel like I've seen this movie before where they get about 50 to 60%.
Wait, they Kitsune rushed there.
Ooh, they did too. Yeah, that was kind of gross.
Yeah, you cannot find yourself out in the open like that on the hazard. Even if you have your block, it's just, they're all just going to shoot you and you're going to die. Just huge mistake overextending like that. Now you do got your Mei ult to combat the other Mei ult. Last time we saw Zach be the aggressive one. Let's see.
Oh my goodness.
What to do here, but Apollo's already out.
Mike just jumped over the entire enemy team to get to the Life Weaver, and they didn't know how to respond. They weren't ready for that level of aggression. I love that play out of Baker. The Blizzard doesn't actually find anything, and now the Deadeye. Oh, able to line up the Lucio last second after the sound barrier got invested. And now it's going to be the Annihilation. I don't think they even need the Nano, but with Paint and the Mei doing so much work, they actually do shut down the Ramattra. The Nano stays in the back pocket, and Baker takes the fight.
Wow, huge team fight win to be able to combat that. ECU did hold on to quite a lot of ults. Wait, they're pushing this? They have the tree? They don't have the numbers, though. What is going on?
And once this tree's down, there's an individual named Paint that has an override protocol, and they still kill both of the supports. Oh, ECU, I hope we're not letting it slip like this. That's a couple big mistakes that realistically is going to give Baker this point as long as they play their cards right, and damn, they have.
Yeah, huge mistakes coming out there from Baker. That tree, totally unnecessary. I thought maybe they're going to swap, but they don't. And Zach's been holding on to this Blizzard for quite a long time. I mean, Amethyzer has almost built up to another Blizzard in the meantime.
And right, it is harder to get a Blizzard when you're trying to attack a defensive team, but at some point, when we're about to be down 2-1 in map 5 and the championship is slipping away, we gotta just send that cold tundra the other way and hope that it just picks up somebody that is going to be relevant to the fight. Speaking of relevant to the fight, that's a big target to find in the immediate onslaught. And then I sleep onto the hazard as well, and ECU, that's how you open up a point.
That's the kind of momentum they needed. No ults needed, able to just get that nice and cleanly, as both teams going to have a huge amount of ultimates in this next fight. Baker just needs to win one more sub point on this map, and they take the Division 9 title.
Yeah, the 1 seed can hold on to the throne for the entire duration of the NECC season. They can put a capstone on a great Nationals run where they have admittedly been tested. They went 5 in the semis. They went map 4 every other series out of the best of 5s as the Blizzard from Amethyzer activated and shutting down everybody. It looks like Zack Attack finally going to use their Blizzard. It happened again, Ray. It happened again.
Why are we doing this? The fight was over. It's just a waste of an ultimate. I don't understand. I mean, okay, they're swapping over to the Reaper. Maybe that's why they were doing that. You have Nano, you have High Noon, but Paint still has this override protocol, and Mike's coming up on the downpour.
And switching to the Reaper, that just means that's even worse for what they just did. They held the Blizzard for 5 minutes just to whip it out for no reason, just to get the Reaper into the game. Oh, it's just mismanaged by ECU, and they can't really afford to be doing such things at this juncture. The Deadeye doesn't connect, but Amethyzer does, and now it's override protocol time. Paint is going to be very low, though, and the Emery does get caught out, so give a lot of credit to ECU. We're able to freeze up the Ramattra for the second, but the Nano Annihilation, this has been the trump card for ECU to pull when they need to win a fight. It looks like that's exactly what they're going to get.
And they're still going to have their tree for the next fight. Freight should be able to keep themselves up while the tree's going as well. Amethyzer will get a Blizzard in this fight. I think that's probably what you're playing for, to try and get this point back and try and just make this clean 3-1, a clean 4-1 in the grand finals.
Gotta keep track of Zach, though. We saw the Junkrat literally ruin the series for Baker earlier. Oh my goodness, the Tree of Life gets put up. I don't even think that Cassidy had a chance to enjoy the sights. We are going to see a nice answer onto Freight. The Ramatra's doing a lot of work onto the Kiriko. Health bar is looking very good for ECU with the Tree of Life still just fully sprouted. The Blizzard is ready to go, but I don't think Baker's got enough players to even warrant trying to use that ulti. No, they're just going to take the L, and it's going to be 2-2. One final flashpoint.
As the Mei going to die very late as we head to Resort for the final flashpoint. Will ECU force a map number 5, or does Baker slam the door in their face and win their Division 9 championship? ECU not going to really have anything. You might build up to the Death Blossom in this fight. So this is pretty much just a free Blizzard for Amethyzer.
Yeah, we'll see how aggressive Baker wants to get in the early onset here, as Brawl Slayer's been doing a fantastic job of just locking that front line down on the Ramatra. Of course, Nano Annihilation's a good way to be living as well, as the Hazard taking a lot of damage. The anti will get cleansed, but the Reaper's able to catch Freight out again. That's the third or fourth time in the last little while that these DPS tank duels of ECU have just been able to catch everybody from Baker asleep at the wheel. And Zac attacked with the Junkrat, and now the Reaper just trying to drag ECU across the finish line.
Yeah, your Lucio cannot continue to be that first pick every single fight. And you have to find a way to use this Blizzard. I know, if you use it on the tank, they're probably just going to pull him out with Live Fever, but you got to find a reason to use this. You can't just keep holding on to it. Soon Rush going to get thrown down.
And the longer they hold, the better a chance that Zac can set up for a disgusting Death Blossom, which may be the angle right now. They're able to shut down the Kiriko, the Deadeye, able to crack down 2 more, and ECU with a triple kill from the Cassidy. They send Baker packing off of Kitsune, Blizzard, and Frey, dying so quick again. Not even close to the sound barrier. And it's another Nano Annihilation. I'm getting nervous.
I think it's over.
I think it is.
Unless they throw here, this Nano Annihilation should just be everything
Tree
they
of
need
Life
to
too.
close this door and force the map number 5.
And a Tree of Life. Like, this Ramatra's gonna have 9 billion HP, 8 trillion armor. It doesn't even matter. It's Override Protocol downpour and a whole lot of hope and prayer for Baker, because it's 96% and they have got to get on the point. What?
They don't even need a Nano Annihilation because nobody touches the point. ECU keeps their hopes alive in this grand final. Makes the series a 3-2.
Just a comedy of errors from both sides, with the biggest one just being a Baker oopsie at the end. They waited so long, they got everybody ready, and they were like 4 seconds too slow. They just don't make it back on. They had ultimates ready to be used. They just took the loss, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, given that they have to win these next 3 maps in a row, they got the first step, but to me, the first step is the easiest step because they got to pick the map. They get the first ban. For these next 2 maps going forward, it's going to be Baker's map pick. They will get the first ban. So these next 2 maps are going to be even harder.
Yeah, we'll see how much just Baker, hopefully they have enough left in the tank to keep the momentum going and they didn't essentially burn all the gas early in the series. A map like that, as close as it was, almost makes it more heartbreaking for Baker. When you're up 2-1, you look up, you're like 100% more, championship is about to be ours. And then you get 25-0 the last 4 fights. Like that, again, I give a lot of credit to Zac. They took Freight out of 3 straight fights, which means there probably would have been another sound barrier, except the Lucio was dead for the last 2 minutes, sat at 30% the last 3 fights, and then there was just no hope.
And now, again, it's on the onus of Baker to try and end this series, trying to not let this comeback happen. It's not a reverse sweep. We had a map earlier in the series, so but it would be, such a disappointment to be up 3-1 to drop the marbles like that. Kind of like basketball, losing the 3-1 series lead is just feels really bad. So again, they're gonna have the map pick. They're gonna have the first ban. We are on map number 6 now. So yeah, it cycles back. They can kind of go wherever they're feeling now.
Yeah, listen, as a Steph Curry supporter his whole career, the 3-1 lead still sits in my heart like a cold stone, so I know Baker does not want to be in that spot. Since we're going to give the players a minute to get ready and get all locked and loaded for Game 6 of a possible 7 in our D9 Grand Finals, we're going to go to a quick break, and we're going to bring ECU Baker, Map 6, back in a few. We are back for what may be our final intermission of the evening after Baker letting map 5 slip. We're going over to map 6 to see if ECU can try to even up the score and take us that full 14 maps that we briefly talked about at the very start of the show, which seems like forever ago at this point. We're going to Shambali, Baker taking Cass off the table, and ECU, despite the fact they bullied the Lucio, taking it out of the game.
Yeah, we don't see a lot of Shambali, which I think opens the door for a lot of different styles of composition. I was gonna say, we saw the Domina at ECU earlier. This is a really good Domina map, so I'm not surprised to see this defensively from them, because we see them also playing the Lifeweaver Fury, which again we saw that at moments on Gibraltar. And Zagatak going back onto that Junkrat, no shockers at all.
Yeah, listen, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The only way they stopped it, I mean, they did punish it eventually on one of the maps, but the best way to deal with it was to ban it away, and now, of course, it is unlocked. Paint picking up the Sojourn for I believe the maybe first or second Sojourn of the entire series. Mike, of course, Diva Hazard exclusively all the way through, and a map like Shambali, all these long sight lines and all the high ground you can jump up to with the balconies certainly makes a lot of sense. Juno on the back line to try to lock into championship.
Here we go. We got double hit scan for the side of Baker Bees, which again, they'll be able to, shoot at and destroy the shield for the Domina relatively quickly. And, they can shoot the Junkrat from a distance as well as they're trying to take this high ground away.
I think that's what they got to do, is try to punish Zach, as they are able to double blast pack away to safety. And Baker, they got the Domina on the back line here in Brawl Slayer, and Brawl Slayer's had a great series themselves, whether it was the Sigma earlier, had some nice moments on the Domina earlier as well. They've been playing a variety of tanks very, very nicely, and at least giving ECU that extra little bit of juice in some of these fights, as nobody falling in the early fight quite yet. A couple players getting low here and there, but Baker slowly but surely trying to take a little bit of space.
As they got the double hit scans on the high ground, playing the same angle. Normally you want to take separate angles, but I get both, kind of wanting access to the high ground. As they do get the Domina off the cart, because they got her low, they had to force to pull her out. So they get a lot of free card space, but Zagatak able to get Amethyzer.
Yeah, all that Baker offense immediately quelled there by a few well-placed shots out of Ishmaelian, and the Junkrat, of course, in Zach. Little dynamite there to throw over the top to make sure. Paint did find a railgun shot onto Zach as an exit, so maybe if Baker gets a fast respawn, they could look to put a little bit of pressure on. Of course, the respawns from ECU a little bit farther away. They will be coming through momentarily, and Brawl Slayer halfway to the Panopticon. Apollo getting pretty close to the Tree of Life. Meredith's just about got the Kitsune, and taking a kill onto Paint, gonna get that ulti online a little bit faster, and a couple DPS trades back and forth, but ECU, I'm sure they're happy with the progress now.
Yeah, they've been wasting a lot of time already, half the time off the bank. You're gonna have your Bob available, your Kitsune. You're coming up on 4 out of your 5 ultimates. As Baker, same thing, but they're lagging a little bit, so ECU is gonna have a window for them to get extremely aggressive with these ultimates before Baker gets them online.
Yeah, Mike, as we've seen the entire series, they're going to be trying to cause havoc on the back line, trying to create these off angles. It's going to be on the rest of the Baker players to catch these players out in a bad spot, but Pain is the one in a terrible spot. The Sojourn getting punished immediately. The Diva forced to back up. The Kitsune rush means the rest of Baker effectively have to run for the hills, but the Ashe is consistently landing shot after shot after shot after shot. And Baker, basically, 2/3 of the time down, and not that much progress considering like most of this area is usually given after a couple kills.
It's only really going to take one solid fight to be able to win this, and you got Kitsune rush out, so now you're in a 5v4 ult situation. That's the thing about the Juno Ana, though, is it's a very greedy backline, so it's like you got to be finding these kills relatively quickly, because it's just not the highest amount of healing output.
Oh my goodness, talk about healing output. Kote no longer available for such things, and now Ishmaelian gonna send in Bob, but they meet the hands of Mike immediately. Bob does get slept, but Brawl Slayer and Zach just instantly find 2 more kills. Baker, again, the good thing for them, they didn't invest any ultis. The bad news is they've been sitting on these ultis and they're running out of time.
Yeah, 40 seconds, so it's a 5v3. So, Baker should, in theory, be able to throw most of these ults in and be able to cap this point, but they need to start going right here now, and Zach's already hiding to look for the perfect hire. And these ults for Baker, for support-wise, none of them are defensive. So it's like, they're both offensive. So there's nothing they can really do about this tower except hopefully shoot it.
And Zach attack, trying to see if they can 100-0 somebody. Instead, it shall be the Riptire. Perfect timing over the railing. Able to shut down 2 players, and I'll be honest, unless this overclock finds 3 to 4 kills, I don't know if Baker's going to have enough, but it looks like they may have at least found enough to keep the fight going. That Tree of Life is going to be borderline impossible to cut through. Mike's going to send in the Diva Bomb. They were able to find a kill just before that. Apollo going to lose a little bit of util there. Ishmaelian run down by the Sojourn and Mike duo, and Baker in the final hour of this first checkpoint, they may... Okay, Marinette being down, Apollo going too, they have officially done enough.
Yeah, once they get this Junkrat down,
Sure.
and he's got to get the Domino, but that, I mean, they have all the numbers. They're going to go down. Ooh, just when you thought they might get first point held like on Gibraltar, they're able to get what they need to get done. Amethyst are now going to go over to the Reaper, which I kind of like that. Again, I don't think this is really more, I don't think this is a double hit scan map at all either, so they're off.
Yeah, and playing into something like the Domino where you're just firing into a barrier what feels like 50% of the time, just play the Reaper or play something a little more. Well, they're going to switch to the Mei anyway, so they're going to switch roles again there as Ishmaelian able to shut down Freight. Mike putting a lot of damage onto the squishies, but with no follow-up and no teammates in the vicinity, they're going to have to cancel the assault for now, and nice little dynamite, and they are able to wall off the D.Va, so potentially walled off their teammate there or kept Ishmaelian from having a nice little angle from the high ground as the Ashe looking to connect on a few shots, and this is not a player I'd be challenging like this. They have proven they will hit shot after shot.
Sleep Dart is going to miss, but Ishmaelian just very uncontested here. The Ashe, I don't know what you're doing trying to take on that at all. Bob not going to get thrown into the fray as a great Mei wall comes up, however.
Yeah, blocks the dynamite and Bob, so not too bad there from the opposing Mei. Ultimates desperately trying to get online for Baker. I don't think they're going to get him online to stop this fight in time, though. Zack Attack able to find one. The Mei's blocked up. Should be able to maybe find that one, too. Mike using a D.Va Bomb to try to clear out some of the cave entrances there as the overclock will be activated from Paint. But they've got a Reaper to deal with in the close quarters. This is not necessarily the best fight for a Soj, but Mike is there to support. Now the overclock is still ready to go. I thought maybe they would try something, but waiting for the rest of the team there is ECU, Panopticon, Tree of Life, Kitsune, and they're sitting pretty.
Yeah, a little interesting is it looks like Zack Attack's waiting to go behind, but they know he's there, so it's like, I mean, what are you going to get accomplished when they know you're there?
Amethyzer just gets 100-0'd. Orbital Ray and Overclock both sent in at the same time. Mike gets CC'd, but there's a Reaper that's going unchecked next to the Tree of Life. Zack Attack, no Death Blossom, so no possibility for just a straight-up pentakill, but 20 seconds left to go. Baker, they're going to nano the D.Va, and they're going to say, Mike, we need to find this fight right now. We cannot afford to go to OT. They lose the Juno, the nano expires, and ECU with the Kitsune at their backs, they're looking good to at least drive Baker back a little further, and there's no time.
Yeah, absolutely nothing. I mean, Amethyzer is going to have this Blizzard online, so that's what they're playing for. They're going to get life gripped out of it. Very well played by the Life Weaver. Ishmaelian, Zack Attack, they're cleaning up. They will hold the Baker Bees at this final corner on second point.
Yeah, and for ECU, like, not even close to an impossible task. Like, this is an extremely winnable map, even despite the close call that they almost stalled Baker out before checkpoint 1. I think they had a fantastic second half there, and I mean, yeah, not only did they give themselves a chance to win, they gave themselves a chance to win without too much stress. I mean, you chain a few fights together and you can basically get to where Baker was. It's all about seeing how fast they can jump out of the gates here, and if Baker just gets... We've seen players just get caught out too many times, and it's been the bane of their existence.
Listen, Jen Ben, in my head, I'm like, check everything you're saying. But then my head's like, we just watched Gibraltar 2 maps ago.
Yeah.
And we thought they had it in the bag, and they got fuller held. So I agree with everything you said, but it's not necessarily, been shown to happen in this series. So I think Baker still definitely has a chance here.
Yeah, I think I literally said earlier, throw all cogent analysis out the window because something's in the water the last couple weeks, and clearly this series is drinking from the same fountain as just about ready to break through the doors. 15 seconds to the unlock. Baker, of course, on the defense. We saw the Tor Bastion earlier, not remotely surprised that we see it now. ECU, yeah, straight up, I would just stop switching heroes altogether because when they switch and find their footing, Baker are the ones that have no idea how to answer.
Here we go. ECU going to keep Zack Attack on that Reaper, and they're not going to change anything else from that attack. Baker B's going back to what they did on Gibraltar to be able to hold the Bastion Torb. Let's see if it works just as well for them on Shambali.
Turret mode ready. Paint is going to lose their turret early as the Bastion looking to take down the Life Weaver a peg there, at least off of the high ground as Amethyzer taking a little bit of damage there. 3.5 minutes on the clock. ECU looking to get going. The Reaper in the back line, able to Wraith form away to safety, taking a chunk out of a few of the Baker players there. At least get some ult charge online. The TP barely in time to get away. But the Reaper shall live to fight another day. As ECU looking to see, I guess willing to see how much space Baker is actually opting to give them, or if they're actually going to play super aggressive and try to stop them nice and close and paint. Bit of an awkward fight with the Reaper and the support there at their back, but they're actually holding their own. Uh-oh, no.
Damn, Zacatach going to get the kill onto paint. 1 minute off the clock, and they've already gotten the cart way further than we had seen on the side of Baker at this point. Now we're going to see the Diva is going to be able to stay alive, but Zacatach's now in the fray, throwing a lot of damage down. They get Freight.
That is not looking good for Baker. Of course, they did get the first checkpoint. There is also a time bonus associated with that checkpoint, so if ECU speed runs through this block, I mean, they're going to have, what, 4.5 minutes maybe if they're able to win this fight relatively quickly. They will have the ult advantage. Yeah, actually pretty even for this fight. Kitsune, Bastion ulti, they can get a nano online. That would be very, very helpful. A Zac attack looking to get the Death Blossom online. The Bastion ulti gets sent in. The Reaper, the cleanse comes through to stop the damage, but it doesn't matter. Oh, they do catch Zac. Bob gets sent in with the backside of the Kitsune. Mike gets demec'd, and no chance of getting back in. ECU, this is their fight all the way.
Oh, man, with very little resistance. It only took him half their time back to be able to get this. They're going to have 4.5 minutes to be able to get this second point, and they still got their Panopticon, their tree, their Death Blossom. They're in a great spot. They got out the Bastion ult and the Curie ult. So, ECU in a prime position to be forcing a map number 7.
Yeah, ECU, it certainly feels like they've got Baker right where they want him, the way they've been playing this Shambali so far. And even if you look to them, they can say, Baker, you shouldn't have got that first checkpoint. We had you dead to rights, and you somehow walked away. Paint, though. That's what you have to do, is shut down the Reaper time and time again. Amethyzer in turret mode, looking to see if they can slam down any damage onto a few of the low ground players there. Panopticon, Death Blossom, Tree of Life ready to go. A nice little nade into the high ground to back up the Bastion, and Baker, they did invest the Molten Core. They've got the Diva Bomb, and they've got the Nano. Mike does get CC'd for the second. ECU just playing the patient game, knowing they have so much time to get so little progress.
Again, still plenty of time on this clock for them to be able to get this. Ishmaelian is going to go down, but they're able to keep it alive. Still 3 minutes. Got plenty, still going to have their tree, still going to have that Death Blossom. But Baker's slowly been building to a decent amount of these ultimates.
Yeah, Molten Core, especially in the team that's pushing into you, can completely disrupt that fight and just cause absolute chaos on the cart. Nobody can really stay locked up on top of each other. I know what Zac's doing, looking for the Death Blossom, but getting absolutely nuked by the Baker squad. A good idea, unfortunately, just Baker ready on the jump. They shut the Reaper down, and now it's Bastion turret mode to force a Suzu and completely cut through the Ashes health bar as well. ECU, 2.5 minutes, still plenty of time, but Baker showing their teeth finally again.
ECU still going to have the Bob, still going to have the tree, but Baker's now in a great spot ult-wise. They're going to have 3 of them to be able to use to combat the 3 that ECU has. This is also the position last time where ECU was able to have, you know, these tied ultimates and they were able to bring it home. So I'm feeling pretty good if you're the ECU. You just gotta, play this patiently, look for your opportunity and strike.
Yeah, patience is the name of the game. You don't need to rush into anything dumb. Double Kitsunes to send both teams through. Nano and Molten Core both ready to go. They nano the Kiriko to keep them alive, but Bob's able to find the first kill. Baker with a big answer, though. Mike's got the Diva Bomb still ready. The Bastion ulti does get sent in, but the Bastion does get stunned. ECU, Panopticon was sent in by Brawl Slayer Kote, somehow staying alive. A massive cleanse onto themselves. Tree of Life out of Apollo will be expiring momentarily. And Zac attack able to find the kill onto Amethyzer. Mike gets demec'd with the bomb. ECU, this might be a small window, but Apollo gets blown to smithereens.
Oh, they get freight. The opportunity is there. They got to do this cleanup. They're going to get the Torb turret down, but the pressure is being placed onto the Sojourn. This Kiri.
Might be it.
They're forcing him out. The card is just there, nearing the end.
Oh my goodness, they're able to do
They
it.
did it!
ECU crosses the goal line, and we're going all the way to Game 7. 14 maps potentially, 14 maps shall be played. Baker just not able to find an answer for this just fiend of a Junkrat that's been running the server, whether it was the Reaper or the Junkrat, play after play to keep ECU alive. And one more chance for all the marbles.
What an amazing 2 series we have gotten today on NECC, both going the full distance. And this series in particular, ECU has just shown, never underestimate them. I mean, they were down 2-0. They've been able to force the map 7 here. They still have some fight in them. And again, they took in the second step to come back from 3-1. Now it's the third step. Still going to be the map pick by Baker Bees and still going to be the first ban from them. So they're still going to have to overcome that.
And I think the players, along with myself, to get a little sip of water, going to take a quick break. We got one more map guaranteed to close out the night. Baker and ECU Tigers, one final showdown for NECC Division 9 glory. We'll catch everybody back to conclude the series in a few minutes. For real this time, the last break has concluded. We have one more map to play. Baker on the brink of blowing a big 3-1 lead over to ECU Tiger.
No.
Yep. Game 7
You
for
see
the
what
chip.
map it is?
Yep, Blizzard.
And you know what I'm thinking?
Yep, I'm thinking it too.
I'm going to cry if it happens.
Oh, man. Well, we said when we were in the break, nothing makes sense anymore. Colors are on the screen. People are popping ultis. We're at that point in the night. I think it's the same for the players. Yeah, one map Blizzard World for the D9 Championship.
All right, as we see on the screen, the Life Weaver ban coming up from Baker. I actually kind of like that low key. Especially when they were trying to get on top of these tanks and they just kept getting pulled out. It makes sense. And the Bastion ban from ECU, I also like that. So I think they both made some really smart swaps, some really smart bans here. I'm not a fan of the Kiri Mizuki, but, you know, ECU has been proving me wrong with a lot of things tonight.
And I truthfully believe that Apollo's Mizuki is strictly to try to shut down Mike, because Mike has just been playing unfiltered for I half the series now, because they have been losing maps here and there, but that Diva was literally playing its own PVM game with the ECU backline for the first couple of maps. So I think the Mizuki is just a direct answer into that, because other than that, yeah, not really any other heroes that it's going to find the most value on. Of course, if you lock down a Tracer or a Cassidy, that always feels good. As Brawl Slayer looking to see if they can break through the front line. Baker desperately searching for a kill, but nobody falling quite yet, as we're about a minute in.
Yes, both teams just jostling for better positioning. This sim, I feel like that's going to be your number one target. If you're the Baker Bees, then they get him down.
Amethyzer, a big opener on the Cassidy. They should be able to push ECU back, in theory, a little bit, as long as they can actually put some real pressure on and disrupt this backline. There's the Mike that we've been looking at for a good portion of the series. Amethyzer opens up with a big one. Deadeye is already good to go. Ishmaelian is going to make their own swap to the Cassidy. Amethyzer will live to tell the tale, and it'll be a team kill for Baker, just a little bit delayed.
Yeah, this Diva is going to thrive on a map like Blizzard World. Like, you know, Domina's fine, she's cool and all that, but, you know, Diva's just good for a reason, and this is a really nice mid-high ground map for Diva to just start really running this lobby again, as we saw in, like, the first couple maps from Mike.
Yeah, and with all the rock formations and the different vehicles and all the cover, the Diva can really just kite around this high ground and relatively easily go untouched. Of course, the Cassidy May are going to be a pretty imminent threat to it, but the way Mike's been playing on the edge and surviving when they need to, finding kills when it's time to do that.
Oh.
Paint, oh my goodness, just getting absolutely blasted by the Cassidy. Baker does effectively have 5 ultis online. They were able to find the early capture. Just wonder how willing they're going to be to pull the trigger as they wait for their 5th player.
Wow.
Well, not now.
No, not anymore. Dark Attack pulling the Blizzard, which, you know, cool. I mean, thought the fight was kind of already won, but I get it. You know, just make this decisive, send them back to the spawn room. Now you can push up aggressively, take control of this cart. As you mentioned, Baker going to have 4 ultimates, however, coming into this fight, so be worried if you are the side of ECU.
and just looking for Freight to do their best to stay alive in some of these fights. Of course, not necessarily always their fault, but they were getting hard targeted by a large portion of the team. Mizuki value showing up in spades. The Diva Bomb does go through. Apollo will fall, so you enjoy your chains. I've got a 50,000-ton bomb with your name on it, as Baker able to rack up 3 quick kills and keep the payload trucking.
Cost him 3 ults. I mean, Pulse Bomb you'll get back relatively quickly, so I mean, not too pricey of a fight, especially since Zach's now on the Reapers, so you don't have to worry about that May ult coming online. You got the Panopticon ult out, so all things considered, you're in a good spot. Beat can help you through this Kitsune rush. And then you got High Noons. Let's see who gets the better one.
Well, unfortunately, you will not have a sound barrier for the foreseeable future, as the Lucio has been executed yet again, and now the Cassidy looking to take a few more names with them as they do go. Mike looking to see if they can find a kill over the top. The Diva, honestly, not even taking a bullet that whole dive. Zach able to trade back Kote and the Kiri, but Baker does get stopped at the goal line there. ECU doing enough to make sure they don't get that additional time bonus, and basically everybody in the lobby looking for a reset.
Still got a hefty time bank left if you are. Oh, and you get Ishmaelian, the Tracer, taking on the cast. My goodness, but Zack Attack able to get the counter cast. Amethyzer off of the field, so no more casts for anyone.
Pulse Bomb ready for Pate now, and how aggressive they're playing. It looks like they're fishing for something, but they're not able to find anything. Kitsune Rush comes through from Marinette, and with Freight falling again before even a sound barrier could be thought of, it's just ECU winning another fight.
Yeah, and now that Zack Attack is getting closer to this Death Blossom as well, you can't just, you know, as be willing to aggress beat. You got to save that for some of these ultimates now. As Baker, you know, started off hot and now it's starting to peter out, but it is kind of the nature of Blizzard World. This second point can be extremely hard to push through, so this is going to be a major milestone for them to try and get through, but if they can win a fight cleanly, they should get this cart delivered.
Well, we finally have a sound barrier. The Sanctuary answer from Apollo. The Deadeye gets activated, but the Mizuki chain holds Amethyzer in place, and now it's Ishmaelian's turn, but they're going to pull the trigger very fast on that one. Not able to collect the kill. They are going to force the cleanse out. They go for the rapid fire. They're not able to find the kill. They lose the 1v1 with some help from the Diva. And Baker, I just really want to see when a team gets a kill. I want to see pressure get put on.
Need to see more clean fight wins out here. Death Blossom comes out, gets nothing because of that Diva defense matrix. They gotta win this fight faster and clean if they want to get this card across, because the spawns are so close for the side of the ECU Tiger Knights.
And that's the other note. You hate to like nitpick fights because a winning fight is a winning fight, but looking how close the series and the meters have been, that 20-25 seconds is unironically winning and losing people championships all night tonight, even going back to the first series. It's been a theme. And with Baker
they got it.
Wow, they lose Cassidy, but they find 2 kills and get the time bonus.
Yeah, they put a lot of pressure onto the Tracer on point, forced them, I mean, the Kiri on point, forced them to have to TP out, and then you're not able to get the touch in time. You're able to now, take a deep breath, 2 minutes on the clock, 3 key ultimates coming online with ECU. I mean, they use their Panopticon, they use their Death Blossom. You'll have Kitsune Rush and your High Noon, but Baker finally got themselves some positive momentum.
Yeah, no pressure players, only some of the biggest ultimates you have maybe ever thrown in your esports career as Paint. Able to shut Zach down with a massive opening pick. The Cassidy looking to ring people off the high ground. The Diva does get stunned. Kitsune Rush out of Kote. Baker, it looks like they want to put the pressure on. The Mizuki drops the chains, but they still fall. That means Mike and the Tracer can go unchecked. The Deadeye out of Ishmaelian to try to save the fight, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. It does get canceled out. Freight, a massive pick, answered back immediately. Pulse Bomb goes through, doesn't find a kill. Brawlslayer answers back with 1. The Kiriko giving enough healing to sustain ECU. A minute left on the clock, and Baker, they're still slowly but surely marching forward.
Yeah, getting that D-Mech onto the Diva. What are you doing? Okay, they kill her. I think you could have staggered, and what you had to do is turn around and go jump off the edge, but they were going into the Domina. A little nitpick there, but, you know, it can be very important sometimes. Panopticon and the Kitsune Rush for the Tiger Knights available. As the Baker Bees, I mean, you get a remake. Oh, you got Beat. Beat should be enough to help you in this fight. I mean, it's not going to help with the Panopticon, though.
Yeah, if Freight is able to live, if Freight can live to get the sound barrier off, we'll have a little bit of faith. Kote doesn't know if they're going to survive. Sound barrier comes in late. It doesn't connect onto the Kiriko. The Deadeye does, though. Oh, that follow-up shot That was the true shot from Amethyzer. That was a filthy snap tap after the Deadeye. Freight will fall, but the sound barrier was, of course, activated. Baker putting a little more pressure on. Mike's able to find one more. The Death Blossom, maybe you get this last second, but they don't make it back in time. And Baker, 9.1 on the clock, and they finish the map.
Which is actually huge, finishing with time on this map, because now no matter how well the ECU Tigers do, even if they finish with 2 minutes on the clock, the Baker Bees will still get an opportunity to attack. But now a line has been drawn in the sand for Baker to win this Division 9 championship. All they have to do is stop the ECU Tiger Knights from full capping Blizzard World, which, as we've talked about, point 2 can already be really hard to cap. And because of how much time you waste there, it makes point 3, which, it's not a, impossible point to cap, but because it takes so much time to get second, you don't have many attacks for the third point, therefore it gets hard to cap.
And just if you're a Baker player, you had a 3-1 lead. It was all smiles, it was all sunshine and good weather, and you've been dragged into a monsoon. But all that work can be rewarded with a Division 9 championship if the defense has the guts to finish the job that the offense got started. It was a great round out of them. Again, they've been slow starters in many of the rounds, and then they seemingly just hit that switch at times. They're able to catch Zach a few times. They neutralized the value of Ishmaelian. Apollo, yes, the Mizuki did find some value dragging the Diva down, but I really don't think it gave ECU that much otherwise. And even then, Mike really didn't get caught that often, so minimal value in the support duo there. But as we said, it's a grand final. It's Game 7, and it is for everything. Pressure at the most, and this is what you play for.
Oh, that was a really good push from the Domina. Stunned a lot of people. Zack Attack's already able to get Freight, and that's already the opening window for them to be able to start pushing and get some point progress.
Oh, and I really hate to be that guy and pick on one player, but if you're Freight and you know that you're being hunted by the entire server, we have to make some adjustment. We've got to go find a babysitter with Mike or somebody. We just can't keep letting ECU essentially just get away with free kill after free kill, especially on one of these supports. Like, you don't want to live without a DPS, but losing one half of the Curie Lucia, I mean, you're just killing the team completely.
And I mean, 5.5 minutes for this second point. I mean, again, both these teams got the first point relatively quickly, so it's all just going to be for the side of Baker. How much time can they drain off of the clock on the second point? The Domina gonna have a little bit harder time on the second point on attack specifically, because inherently on the defense you just kind of get the high ground for free, in between your fights. You don't on the attack, so you have to either be okay with never having the high ground, or you have to go out of your way to take this away from the Diva.
Yeah, we'll see if that is the name of the game, and if both of these teams can at least match the strategy that they're hoping to achieve and find some level of success. As Paint is gonna fall again. Baker, doesn't matter what stage of the fight, they seemingly are just losing the first player so often on the defense, and if they're able to catch this player out, they may be able to shut down the Reaper, but Zack Attack will be able to squirm away to safety. Now there's pressure on the backline. Amethyzer getting torn up by the Symmetra. Mike looking to desperately find one back. They can't kill the Symmetra, and it took so long that ECU, they get all the other kills, and now it's Baker. There's going to be a lot of time if ECU can get across this here.
Yeah, you just can't let that happen. You cannot let a Symmetra flank behind you and just obliterate your team like that. Now they're going to have 5.5 minutes on the second point. I talked about, oh my goodness, the Death Blossom comes and finds 2 in exchange for 2. But that's kind of the issue is, I talked about how it can take a long time to cap the second point, which makes the third point, harder to get just because you don't have many cracks at it. They got those 2 points easily. They're going to have so many attempts at this third point now.
Yeah, this point's not nearly as scary when you have literally 7 or 8 cracks at it. And I mean legitimate cracks where you can let people reset. It takes about 20 to 30 seconds to get that full 5 maybe back up. They can go at this for 5 rounds, and Baker, you're going to have to hold on for dear life. Unfortunately, it's the Lucio dead again! And now Brawl Slayer finds one with the Panopticon. Ishmaelian finds one too, and Baker, I'm going to be honest, they just look completely rattled.
3 ultimates used in that fight for Tiger, however, so all they have now is the Kakai Sanctuary. But with the late stagger onto Amethyzer, it's looking really bad for the side of Baker. I mean, you get the beat and the override protocol.
They better get on the cart because there is 1 meter separating the two and they don't have a tank. ECU with 5:11 on the clock.
Yeah, and this is why I said it was important that Baker was able to finish with time, and why it's unfortunate that ECU was not able to touch at the end of that attack for the Bakers and force the 0 on the clock. Now Baker gets another chance to attack here, and both teams cap the first point super quickly. So there's a chance that this could go many more rounds.
No chance that there is a paused logo on my screen in a 3-3 Game 7 overtime Blizzard World for the championship. That's just not happening.
Oh, but it is, Genvin. But it is, as so close to determining who is going to be that Season 9 Division 9 Nationals champion. And hey-o, East Coast, congratulations. It is now Saturday. We have crossed the midnight threshold.
Yeah, that's folks, and that's me. Luckily, I mean, right, 14 out of 14 maps. Unfortunately, a few too many tech pauses for my liking, but I mean, we're in map 7. I'll be honest, if Baker wins this, it would be like hitting the lottery because you have to stave off 4 extra minutes plus on a Blizzard World where it is looking very, very rough. It looks like once ECU finds the angles that they're looking for, they look like an unstoppable machine. Thank goodness we don't have to go to break. We get back. I mean, you see the state of the game, folks. It is literally the end of the end of the end.
Here we go. It all comes down to these extra rounds. Who's going to take the Division 9 championship? I mean, ECU just has a staggering time difference. You'd think, there's no way they can fumble this bag. So
this time doesn't look
one
real.
Has to think this is their map to lose it, their map to win at this point.
I don't think I've ever casted a team with 4 minutes in the bank ahead on Blizzard World OT. It doesn't even look right.
We do see defensively here, they're not going to change anything. Ishmaelian going to go to the Ash. No cast this time, which I get it for first point. Zagatak going to stick to the Reaper. As Baker going to keep Amethyzer on the cast. Paint going to stay on that Tracer.
Yeah, and because of the time situation, Baker, at bare minimum, we better get this capture because I'm willing to wager ECU will eventually get 5 ultis and capture this point with 5 minutes to spare. And if they don't, then they don't deserve to win the championship, and that is the nature of competition as Zagatak finding the first opener onto Amethyzer, and every single kill, you can just hear the oxygen leaving Baker's lungs.
Agreed, as Paint's going to try and force point pressure with the Mizuki and the Ash there. Going to get headshot. Paint back to the spawn room. You got your mech back with your mic, but you're down a player, so you're trying to trade and get a pick quickly.
Oh, Baker, it's looking so grim. The Diva's got no mech, and I don't even know if we're not getting that remeched in time. If we do, we're going to be very lucky without getting caught out in the meantime as, the bot back from the Domina connects onto 3 and slows down the push. They find the kills too. I'm not going to lie. I feel slightly cheated that we got to OT Game 7, and it's still just going to be a stomp.
I mean, again, as I mentioned, this is the Tiger Knights map to lose, man. There should be no reason they get held without a single tick.
No, it can't.
For 5 and 11 minutes.
That can't happen.
There's no way.
No. It literally, no. Some things you like joke about on broadcast and say, "Oh, it'd be funny if this happened." There is
no. That's what I'm saying. There should be no
like.
This should just be a Tiger Knight win. Like if Baker holds here, legendary. Like that's ridiculous.
Oh, this is first ballot Hall of Fame defense. If they hold this down, like literally hang the banner at Baker because this would be so worthy of the distinction. I mean, 5-11, realistically to get 1 kill. Like 5 minutes to kill one
Jobin,
player in an
you
advantageous
get 4
situation.
minutes to attack the point. They have more time than they normally would have.
That's a very good point. They have 20% more time. They actually have so much more time. Oh my goodness, ECU, you better not lose this one. If you 3-1 come back and lose in this situation, oh man.
Well, you wouldn't lose in this situation. You would draw.
Oh my goodness, Ray, don't even say that word.
Well, ECU
right,
can't lose. They're either winning this or we're going to a map 8.
You're right. I just always forget because we've been in the mud and I'm thinking there's no way ECU can lose, but there is, you know, if you're saying there's a chance, I do suppose Baker could fit the bill here, but 5 minutes, 300 seconds for ECU to walk forward about 60 feet.
And use that sim TP. I'd be trying to use that to try and just force point quickly and force Baker. They're on Moira Zen, so it's like they are just trying to headhunt for kills and just throw down as much damage as possible. Amethizer's down. That should be it.
Oh, Paint does find one back, but I don't know. This Domina Symmetra duo have been honestly unmesswittable for Baker. They haven't really found a couple of good answers back to back. The Symmetra Beam 1v1 wins it against Paint.
There we go. That's it.
This tick will be collected. I'll wait for the last couple kills to go through before I officially coronate our champions. 3-1 down. Game 7 OT. ECU Tiger Knight running Baker off of the stage to claim the Division 9 championship at NECC.
And upsetting the #1 seed. There we go, baby. What more could you ask for? Division 9 ending off NECC Nationals with a bang.
I feel like I just played 50 maps myself, like a 12-hour rank session with a little bit less tilt in there, but 14 maps possible, 14 maps done and dusted. Carthage squeaking out the 4-3 win, and then Baker, I mean, you literally can't write a better script for ECU. You got smacked around for the first few maps, battled back in a big way, and honestly, they just found 3 or 4 picks that Baker literally looked dizzy trying to figure out. That Domina, especially, they never figured it out.
Yeah, they never found an answer to it, so huge congratulations to ECU for pulling off the upset, coming back from down 3-1, and being able to win 3 maps back to back to back. You are the NECC Division 9 national champions.
Yeah, what a way. You can't write a better way to finish off the season. You go all the way to Game 7 OT, and that's the best part of Game 7 OT is when you have 5 minutes on the clock and you are just relaxed. You're like, listen, they might beat us in a couple fights. We'll slam 3 ultis. There's no chance. Then you see Moira Zen, and you're like, oh, they're desperate. We are definitely about to run through them. That was fantastic work from all squads involved, even to the second place teams. I mean, 2 Game 7s, literally a couple of kills difference, and that championship might be yours, but